Give you a quick backgrounder to this year's theme, because we're looking at the economy, and for the most part it has been part of the conversation across not just Nigeria, not just on the African continent, but on the global level. And for this year's theme, we're looking at the reforms of the Tinubu administration, the gainers as well as the losers. And the lineup for guest speakers this year is quite formidable. We're expecting the Minister of Economy and Planning to be a part of the lineup. Plus, we also get to hear from some of the members or players in the private sector, as we get to also hear the thoughts of the immediate past president of the Abuja Chamber of Commerce and Industry. The voices of Nigerians will also be represented at this year's event, as we expect to be a part of the panelists and guest speakers. The national president of the Nigeria Labour Congress, Comrade Joe Ajero, is also going to be with us for this year's event. As you can see behind me, the crowd settling in nicely. We're about to kick things off. We have quite a mixed bag of attendees, students, academics, private sector individuals, public figures, and also just to give you a sense of some of the notable public figures that we already have in attendance. We have the past chairman of the Independent National Electoral Commission, Professor Ataru Jega, in attendance. We also have the spokesperson, or the former spokesperson of President Muhammadu Buhari, Malam Garba Shehu, alongside many other dignitaries, notable dignitaries that are taking part in this event. Of course, it is a talking event. It is one that would set the agenda for a variety of issues that will be unpacked, that will be navigated, that will delve into for the program today. And just to give you some sort of insight as to some of these developments and how they're going to unfold, let's just speak to someone who is also a part of the team that has set up this conversation for this year. Joining me right now to just give you insight on some of these developments is Professor Muhammad Muttaka, a professor of economics at the ABU Zaria, that's Ahmadu Bello University, Zaria in Kaduna. Prof, good morning. Thank you very much for joining us.
Good morning. How are you?
Fine, thank you. So what can you tell us about what to expect, especially looking at this year's theme?
Yeah, this year's theme is talking about the economic development in relations to the new government policy. And what we are expecting is to discuss issues that has to do with the policies and where those policies can be anticipated to give a fruitful results, and where those policies, as analysts, look at it and said, look, this need to be fine-tuned. So these are the issues that we will discuss today. And as you all know, that media trust champion the discourse from the context of economic development, because that is only the paper that have what is called Board of Economies that meets every quarter and synthesize what the economy is doing, how the economy is doing, what are the things that need to be changed, and what to be changed. And surprisingly, is finding its niche in the defining the roadmap for Nigerian economic system, and this what is a pedal to those discussions.
Now, we're at the 21st edition of the dialogue. Give us a sense of its perceived impact over the years, especially given some of the various conversations that have been had at this event.
Yeah, over the years, over 25, this is the 25th edition, and all the output of the conference normally feed into policy papers, and about then the paper side of it will now crystally explain all the issues and where the policies and the recommendations are taken. I'll give you an instance where the Daily Trust Dialogue talk about agriculture and provide some positions in terms of agricultural financing in Nigeria, and the then government have to introduce some of the measures recommended by those policies. So we hope that the policymakers will listen to those, because we are going to be critical of all issues as known for the ideological frame for media trust.
And as a professor of economics, tell us, your thoughts about the phrasing of this year's theme. Tinubu's, economic reforms, gainers and losers?
Yes, for economic system, normally reforms take times. So in the last 6 months, we will look at what are the quick wins, what have they achieved, what they have not achieved. Incidentally, yesterday the governor of Central Bank saying that, look, the inflation rate will be brought to, but that's only a news, which previous government used to run government's news. What we want is to see something on the ground, the improvement of living of standard of Nigerians.
And what do you say to people who say, why are we not talking about security, for instance? Because for most Nigerians, it is also equally important as the economy.
Yes, security and economy are intertwined. Without security, you can achieve economic development. Without economic development, you will have a security crisis because people will take arms because they are disenchanted, dissatisfied with the system. Yes.
Right, and as far as expectations are concerned, what are your thoughts about the lineup for our guest speakers today? We have the Minister of the Economy, we have, someone from the private sector in Dr. Victoria Akai, the National President of the NLC, and of course we know the Labour's position on some of the economic reforms already. So what are your expectations regarding the lineup of speakers for today?
My expectation is that all the three blocks is deliberate. We brought these people together. We want them to listen to each other. And when you listen to each other, then proffer explanations for whatever positions you have. Because the ministry will chunk out policy in terms of fiscal policy. We wanted to bring somebody in the monetary side of it, but unfortunately we could not bring anybody within the monetary side of it. It's the fiscal side we are able to, and the labor and the private sector. So we want them to listen to each other, and also let's see what will come out of it.
What about the audience? What can you tell us about, because I've seen students here, I'm seeing, people from the civil society organizations. What can you tell us about the makeup of the audience for today's event?
Media Trust has a large followers. So whenever there is events related to it, you will see so many people. And the reason why you see that cream of people, that this can be used to disseminate those informations, and both the top and the low.
Prof, thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate you for sparing the 5 minutes to talk to us. Of course, things are shaping up right here at the NAF Conference Center in Kado, Abuja, venue for this year's Daily Trust Dialogue, the 21st edition. It's about the economy, it's about different perspectives about what is happening in Nigeria, especially since the emergence of the Tinubu administration. The removal of fuel subsidy has triggered quite the ripple effect across Nigeria, and as Professor Muntaka did say, it is about setting the agenda for the government and also crisscrossing and crossbreeding some of those ideas just to get a sense of what people can expect. And we're fortunate enough to bring in one of the most notable public figures attending this event, the immediate past national chairman of the Independent National Electoral Commission, Professor Tahiru Jega. Good morning, Prof. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you very much for this opportunity.
It's good to see you as always. What can you tell us about this event, your expectations, especially looking at the gathering, the talking point, and of course where we are today as a country?
I think first of all one has to begin by commending Media Trust Limited for sustaining this annual dialogue, which has been quite impactful in terms of generating ideas, discussing policy matters, and adding value to democratic governance in our country. And the theme chosen for this year, which is looking at the economic reform policies of the current government, I think is quite apt because it offers an opportunity for people to review what has been done so far, to critique it, and to provide constructive recommendations in terms of what needs to be done in order to keep on improving. Economic policies impact upon the citizens either positively or negatively, depending on how they are planned and how they are implemented. And we have seen that some of the policies that have been so far executed, such as the withdrawal of subsidies, have had serious negative effects on the lives of the ordinary citizens. And it is very important at these kinds of occasions to engage government officials and to understand the rationale and also what they are doing to mitigate the negative effects of such policies. So I think it's a wonderful opportunity for engagement, for dialogue, for constructive value addition to how Nigeria should be governed in the overall interest of the citizens of the country.
And in your experience, do events like this, do conversations like this, have some sort of impact on the agenda, on policy ideas, and as well as what the government makes of how the people are reacting to what it's doing?
Well, it should have impact on the governance process. We expect that such dialogues create opportunity for policy makers as well as policy implementers to participate, because they will always come out with something that can add value. Regrettably, in our country, many policymakers tend to stay away and to remain aloof on these kinds of opportunities. But this is a wonderful opportunity that our leaders, our policymakers should really use in order to listen to citizens' constructive advice or review of what they intend to do or what they are doing so that they can do it better. But staying away really does not help matters of governance. We are all striving for good governance in this country. We know where we have been, what we have been through, and we also are all hopeful that things can keep on getting better. But if policymakers remain aloof, stay away, do not engage in these kinds of constructive engagements, then obviously we may still have a long way to go in terms of adding value to progress and development in our country.
And what do you make of the makeup of the guest speakers, those that would be, sharing their perspectives and ideas about this topic?
No, I think it's an excellent mix. You have a technocrat and a former Minister of Planning chairing the event. You have the current Minister of Finance and coordinator of the economy. And you also have an industrialist and a leader of, business community involved. So I think it's a very good mix, and we'll listen to different perspectives, both from the government and from experience and from practical people engaged in the economy. So we really, I'm excited. That's why I came here to listen to the different perspectives and to see what one can learn, and if possible, what one can also contribute in this larger engagement which is in the interest of our country.
Prof, thank you so much for sparing the time. We really appreciate your insight on this one. Thank you so much for joining us. Right, and of course, we've just been talking to the former National Chairman of the Independent National Electoral Commission, Professor Atayo Jega, giving us his thoughts on expectations and the instrumentality of an event like this to national discourse, especially as we get a sense that we're going to hear different versions of the same issue regarding economic reforms, how well it is doing, the impact it is having on the lives of Nigerians across the country. And as you can imagine, it is going to be a talk shop where the ideas might not necessarily be aligned, but of course it is all geared towards improvement as well as betterment of the largest economy, which has to be stressed, the largest economy on the African continent. And of course, that is all a part of the mix for today. The event will soon kick off in earnest. As you can see behind me, the guests are trying to get to their seats. And of course, we do expect some big dignitaries to be a part of this year's event. A few governors are set to attend this event. We will also perhaps get to speak to some of those attendees and get a feel of what they expect and what role they hopefully would like to play as the 21st edition of the Daily Trust Dialogue set sail. So we'll leave you with some of the pictures from the event, and we'll get back to you and, of course, give you live commentary as the event takes shape. All right, welcome back. And of course, you've been seeing the mood here as things pick up for the 21st edition of the Daily Trust Dialogue that is set to get underway. Now, just to get some more insight, we're happy to welcome someone who is a known quantity, not just within the Labour constituency, but also indeed across Nigeria, a leader of thought. And we're happy to have Comrade Issa Ademu to share his thoughts with us regarding expectations, what he makes of the topic or the theme for this year's event, as well as what to expect from the Labour corner as we expect the national president of the NLC to take part. Good morning to you, sir, and thank you very much for sparing your time.
Good morning, and to you, let me congratulate all our viewers, for witnessing the new edition, another edition of Daily Trust Dialogue. Yeah.
Thoughts, comrade, about the topic. It needs no explanation because Nigerians are well aware of what they're going through right now because of the economic reform. But what is your perspective about this year's theme?
Well, I think it's very timely, and I want to commend the Daily Trust for also promoting what I call economic literacy among the citizens, and the task of nation building is not just for the state, not just for the government, but also for the citizens as a whole. And the media has a role to play to focus on real issues that unite all of us. So I think the theme is also very timely. We are looking at the economic reforms of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, the seventh democratically elected president in the dispensation. And then we are looking at, the gainers and the winners, under this dispensation. But if you ask me, I think we are all winners, to the extent that reforms are inevitable, because if we don't reform, we'll be deformed. And we can see it, how the mismanaged petroleum, the downstream sector has deformed all of us. I mean, which we are spending close to almost 4 trillion naira, to subsidize one product. When health, education, even labor, employment creation have been suffering. So by removing the fuel subsidy, I think it's clear now that all of us, to some extent, we are winners. To the extent, of course, prices have gone up. It has impacted on inflation, but now we have enough resources, for the federation. Right. So I think it's important, and I hope all the discussants will be able to raise issues, in a way that we can minimize the losses and then maximize the gains. I think that's what the challenge before us is all about. Yeah.
Right. And as far as connecting or perhaps establishing a nexus between conversations like this and how it may or may not inform the government's decision to either tweak or perhaps add value to its own policy ideas. What do you think is going to happen as a result of this conversation? And is there a chance that it may actually influence the government's feedback mechanism?
I'm also impressed with the remarkable collection of discussants that Daily Trust has put in place. I mean, we are going to have proper dialogue here, no monologue. We are not talking to ourselves. You have the coordinating minister, who is expected to be here. You also have organized labor represented by the NSC president. Of course, you have the floor that will be open for discussion. So we are going to have robust engagement because the bane of discourse in Nigeria, it has been monologue. I mean, the top down, at times bottom up, but now we're having, informed discussion with all the stakeholders. And I hope discussion will be constructive, will be for nation buildings. We don't need to weaponize our shortcomings. Let's turn them to strengths. And I've no doubt in my mind that we'll be able to have a robust discussion. But the last one I want to raise, don't forget this is my constituency. I think it's important that to emphasize the need for to know how to value labor, human resource. The most important factor of development is human resource. With 200 million people and plus, I mean, Nigeria has no basis for poverty, but you have to, motivate labor, pay them very well, make sure they get productivity in place, and with that one, we can transform society. So beyond naira, beyond capital, beyond land, I think this is the time to refocus labor in discussion, and I'm happy that Nigeria Labour Congress is here to add value to that.
Right. And of course, in talking about the Nigeria Labour Congress, you have over the years been described as a leader of thought in your own right, and while you were still pretty much active in the labor circles, you've had some very sound ideas about the way forward. Exactly. Not to retire you in any way, but just give us a sense of how the organized labor, for instance.
People are already waiting for us. What do you want me to say?
Okay, just a quick thought regarding labor's position. We've seen them react to the removal of fuel subsidy and so on and so forth.
I think the way to go is social dialogue. I mean, Labour has done very well to protest when their members are impacted upon. I mean, I'm so happy that with the engagement of Labour, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu have now thought of how to address the issue for the Labour. There's presidential wage award. There's also attempt to increase minimum wage. I think Labour should continue this trajectory, but to be focused on more dialogue, collective bargaining, so that we have wise outcomes.
Right. Thank you very much for your time, comrade. We hope to speak to you before the event ends, or at least get your thoughts, as well as other thoughts that would be shared today. As you can imagine, it's an engagement that is set to get on the way. So let's leave you with some of the pictures now as the event continues to unfold.
we meet again for the 21st edition of the annual Daily Trust Dialogue. And this year we're combining it with the African of the Year Award. I would like to welcome all of you just to announce that we are about to start. We want to welcome all our distinguished guests who are here with us and all those who are watching from various TV sets back at home. I will be introducing the guests over time, bit by bit, bit by bit. Everyone will get noted, but as we are already late and hard on time, we will start by introducing a few and then carrying on with the program. My name is Suleiman Suleiman. I am Chairman, Editorial Board, Daily Trust. And today I will be moderating this event. This will be the second time that I will be moderating the event, and I am happy to be in this position. So, yes. Okay. So without further ado, please allow me to announce the start of this program with our national anthem, please. May we all rise in honor of Nigeria. Thank you very much. Thank you. And thank you also for taking up the gauntlet when the technology failed. Thank you. Allow me to call on Malam Naziru Mikail Abakar, who is Executive Director and Editor-in-Chief, Digital and Editorial in the Daily Trust, to open this event with prayer.
صلوا على النبي الكريم. ربنا هب لنا من أزواجنا وذرياتنا قرة أعين واجعلنا للمتقين إماما. ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار وأدخلنا الجنة مع الأبرار يا عزيز يا غفار يا رب العالمين. We pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to bless this gathering, to help us discuss better things that will benefit our country, that will benefit us individually. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala unite this country and help us to grow and protect us and ensure a lasting peace for all of us. And we also pray for all those who come here, whether based in Abuja or from outside Abuja, to return to their home safely. سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون وسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين.
Yes. Thank you very much. That is the beauty of a forum like this. We have representatives of government, but also representatives of labor and students and Nigerians. Please allow me to announce the chairman of this occasion, Dr. Shamsuddin Usman, who is one of Nigeria's most distinguished economics and former Minister of Economic Planning, Budget and Economic Planning. Thank you. Also allow me to introduce His Excellency, the Minister of Information, Alhaji Idris Malagi. Please. Thank you. Also allow me to introduce other distinguished guests here. And like I said, I'll be doing this throughout the event so that everyone gets to mention. We have here in our midst the representative of the governor of Katsina State, the deputy governor of Katsina State, Honorable Faluk Lawal Jobe. You're most welcome, Your Excellency. Thank you. So at this point, also allow me to introduce our distinguished guests from all the way from South Africa. He's the commissioner, the High Commissioner to Nigeria, the South African High Commissioner to Nigeria. My apologies if I got that mixed up. Mr. Thami Inseleku. You're most welcome, sir. Thank you. So at this point, please allow me to welcome our chairman, Media Trust Group, Alhaji Kabiru Yusuf, to come and give the opening remarks to this event. Thank you.
Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I want to start by asking you, since this is a media event, to stand and give a 1-minute silence for the journalists that have been killed in Gaza. According to the Committee for the Protection of Journalists, CPJ, by 23rd of this month, January, 83,000 people have been killed in Gaza. These are media workers. If you look at other channels, I hope you heard me what I said. I was going to call on you to stand up for a 1-minute silence for the journalists that have been killed in Gaza. The figures so far are indicating at least 83. This is one of the most brutal wars for the media. And I think we should begin this media event with 1-minute silence. Thank you. Thank you very much. I think I also want to follow that up by saying, from the account I saw of the visit by the Secretary of State, Mr. Blinken, to Nigeria, I think we missed a very good opportunity to tell him the feeling, I think, of most Nigerians. I know that there are differences in opinion on what is happening in the Middle East, but I know my countrymen. I think the humanity we feel whenever there is oppression anywhere, historically, suggests to me that most Nigerians will want the carnage in Gaza to stop. I think we missed the opportunity. I don't know what conversation was held in private, but from the account I saw, the emphasis seemed to have been on the so-called two-state solution. The two-state solution is important, but it has been on the table for more than 30 years. It's not new. I think what is urgent is to stop the war in Gaza. And I'm afraid we may have lost this opportunity to tell Mr. Blinken. And I think on this call, I would like to congratulate South Africa, whose ambassador is here, for the brave stand they have taken on this issue. I think our government should join them and other African states in this direction. So welcome to our main issue of the day, which is the Daily Trust Dialogue. Many of you here will know that every January we meet here or elsewhere. And this we've been doing, this is the 21st edition of the program. We meet to discuss the problems of Nigeria. Sometimes we actually broaden it to include the problems of Africa. That is why these two things are very well connected. Some of you will recall in this very forum, we had people like Mrs. Winnie Mandela from South Africa, Mr. Jerry Rawlings from Ghana, and many other distinguished African statesmen, because we are all interconnected in one way or the other. So I'd like to thank you for honoring this invitation again to join us. I think if you go over the themes of these get-togethers, you'll be forgiven if you think like me sometime that it's like we're going around in cycles. The socio-economic challenges of this country are mounting, and I think they're even becoming more daunting. The promises by politicians are getting more creative, but to judge by the results, the more things are supposed to change, the more they have remained the same. Seems like only yesterday, but it was in January 2017, in the early days of the Buhari government, the topic of the dialogue was beyond recession towards a resilient economy. Kemi Adeosun, the Minister of Finance, was there. So was Godwin Emefiele, then Governor of the Central Bank. And some of us left that meeting feeling that perhaps here at last are the people that will take us to the promised land. Mrs. Adeosun spoke in very crisp Queen's English, though even then one wondered if such a youngish former finance commissioner from a state could handle the complex fiscal federalism of Nigeria. Godwin Emefiele, who continued as central bank governor under Buhari, seemed to master the numbers. Though at that time, he was not accused of cooking them. Sadly, the economy has become more vulnerable than resilient. The Buhari team, by most economic measures, have left things worse than they made them. They have their excuses and are actively trying to whitewash this record. But as the Nigerian economy goes into a tailspin, I think its managers in the last 1 decade cannot account for their mandate in 1 or 2 book launches. Nigeria as a nation that continues to live on hope without its leaders doing much to actualize it. When old hope dies, a new one is created to replace it. So welcome to the era of the renewed hope agenda. So welcome to the era of the renewed hope agenda. The Tinubu government is less than 1 year old. It started bravely. Some will say giddily. As old Taisholerin would say, and I believe he was even an atheist, But he has this famous prayer, which many of you who are old, as old as me will remember. May your rod be tough, or may your rod be rough, whichever one you choose. Now, I think he meant to startle those who expected manna to drop from heaven. And I also think he was trying to encourage choosing the road less traveled. I know President Bola Tinubu did not attend Ikene Grammar School, where Mr. Solarin was the principal for many years. But his government has embarked on difficult enough economic reforms. The question is, does it have the desire and the discipline to deliver? That is the debating point of this year's dialogue, which we captioned Tinubu's economic reforms, gainers and losers. Some of you may say the president has possible 8 years in office. Are we perhaps judging him too early in the game? But I think this is the time to interrogate and influence what is ahead of us. We have assembled, I think, a fairly good team to do that. The chairman, Dr. Shamsuddin Usman, has a PhD in economics. He taught the subject in Ahmadu Bello University. He was a former managing director of Nal Merchant Bank, former deputy governor of the Central Bank, former minister of finance, former minister of national planning. If the Tinubu reforms have a chief advocate, it will surely be Mr. Wale Edun, Minister of Finance and Coordinating Minister of the Economy. Mr. Edun is not here, but I believe maybe there is a message because we have duly invited him. I personally spoke to him, sent him several messages. So it's possible that he has a representative here, or it's possible that he will come later, or it's possible he will not come at all. But I just, for the sake of the audience, should know what steps we have taken to put him on the program. Mr. Edun is a trained economist also. He has worked in merchant banking and corporate finance. He was the Commissioner of Finance in Lagos State under Governor Tinubu, and looks set to play a similar role as minister under President Tinubu. Dr. Victoria Akai, who is here, is the immediate past Director General of the Abuja Chamber of Commerce and Industry. She is still a member, I should say an executive member of the Nigeria Association of Chambers of Commerce, Industry, Mines and Agriculture. With over 2 decades experience in administration and program management, she has seen many booms and busts in the business cycle. Finally, my comrade Joe Ajero, who actually was a former journalist like me. He was correspondent of the Guardian, the Vanguard, actually rising to become assistant news editor at the Vanguard before he moved sideways. He joined the Nigerian Union of Electricity Workers in 2001, rising to become the General Secretary. Since February of 2003, has been the president of the Nigeria Labour Congress. I think his face, sometimes a little buttered, has become familiar to all of us. So distinguished ladies and gentlemen, this is the lineup for this year's dialogue. I'm sorry if I'm a little bit frank, but this is the usually tradition of these meetings. We gather here to discuss openly different viewpoints about the problem of our country, and I hope I have set the tone for what is to come. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much, Chairman. I think our chairman deserves another round of applause. I also think he particularly made an important point regarding what's happening in the Middle East. In the 70s and 80s, I was not there, but I have read and heard that Nigeria used to stand up for human rights, used to stand up for people's rights, stood up for South Africa, for Namibia, and for other peoples across the world. But now it appears that we have lost steam on that. But we have South Africa to thank because they have taken up where we have left off. So another round of applause for our chairman on that. Thank you. So I would like to also introduce a few more guests as we continue. I will be introducing the guests in no particular order, as this is a media event. We don't have any particular protocol, except the name that comes first in the story gets into the story. So we will be calling out the names as it comes. So allow me to introduce also the economic advisor to the president on the office of the vice president, Dr. Tope Fashua. And also here with us is just next door neighbor to him is Dr. Akim Baba Ahmed, whom you have known for most of our lives, but also who is now the political advisor in the office to the president in the office of the vice president. You're much welcome, sir. And also at this point, it is time that I introduce our panelists. As the chairman has already introduced, we were still expecting the Minister of Finance and Coordinating Minister for the Economy, Mr. Wale Edu. And we hope that at some point in this event, he will honor the invitation. But also on the panel with him is Mr. Joe Ajaero, who is the NLC president. And then with him again is Dr. Victoria Akai, the immediate past chairman of the Abuja Chamber of Commerce. You're most welcome. Thank you. So again, I call on the chairman of the occasion, Dr. Shamsuddin Usman, former Minister of Finance, former Minister of National Planning, and one of Nigeria's most distinguished economics, to come and have opening remarks as well. Thank you, sir.
Special guests, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. Let me start by expressing my appreciation to Kabir Yusuf and the Daily Trust team. In fairness to them, they contacted me a long time ago. I had even almost forgotten until a couple of weeks somebody called again to remind me. So thank you very much. My only slight concern is that if the Nigerian economy does not improve this time next year, I don't want Kabiru Yusuf to come and start saying Shamsuddin Usman was here, because he started talking about who was here. He said Buhari was here, and so on and so forth. So, Kabiru, please don't call on my name next year. I also wondered slightly about the topic itself, because they didn't give me any, I hadn't discussed it with anybody, but I wondered why the choice of the topic, particularly why focus on winners and losers. Yes, as an economist, I know that every economic action, probably every policy, even political, whatever, there's always a winner and a loser. And I would just like to I don't want to preempt the main speakers. Particularly, I was happy that my friend Wale Edu, the Honorable Minister of Finance and Coordinating Minister of the Economy, had been invited. So I didn't want to say anything that would preempt, and I still don't want to do that. But I want to just use as an example of winners and losers two of the immediate policy announcements that President Tinubu made, in fact, during his inauguration. One was the removal of the fuel subsidy, and the second was the exchange rate depreciation. Now, using the fuel subsidy, one can say that before the removal, the fuel importers, the oil importation syndicate, were the winners, and the average Nigerian was the loser. That is before the scrapping. Immediately after removal, the situation was reversed, isn't it? The average Nigerian was the winner, and the losers were the oil importation syndicate. But these two policies actually have engendered an almost unprecedented inflationary spiral. And inflation generally hurts the poor more than the rich. It hurts the poor and those on fixed income or no income. As you can see, people struggling to make ends meet. So now, can anybody say really, or if I ask you, who are the winners and who are the losers arising from those two policies? You probably say that it's been reversed again. On the face of it, it looks like the average Nigerian seems to be the loser of that policy. But who is the winner? Certainly not indicate, because they've lost that bit of business, even though some of them are still importing and selling in the unregulated market and making money. So they probably haven't lost that much anyway. But I think you cannot necessarily say that the average Nigerian is the loser, because it's probably too early to make such an assessment. It depends on, you have to take in other factors into account. So in the short term, it may look like one way, but when you go to the medium to long term and taking into other factors into account, for example, where are the palliatives? This is a valid question to ask. Where are the palliatives? How well are they being implemented? 3,000 20-seater buses, CNG, were promised. where are they? So, Kabiru, when you ask, is it too early to assess? No, it's not too early. It's a valid question that people need to ask. Some of the palliatives, the implementation started very poorly, and the government had to actually suspend them. But at least one thing is showing is that it is a sensitive government. It's listening. When people complain, when there is an uproar about certain actions, the government listens and immediately takes action. There are also savings, additional savings in revenues, higher revenues. If you look at the amount that is going to the federation account, is increased by almost 50%, the amount to be shared. So how those additional revenues are going to be used by both the federal government and the state governments will come into the final calculation of who are the winners and who are the losers. How those revenues are used. If they are used in the old way of just paying salaries and allowances and not, the average Nigerian is not likely to be a gainer from the use of those revenues. The student loans scheme and other policies that the government is, the new electricity bill that has been signed by the president. So you actually, in the sort of medium to long term, you have to factor in all those additional policies, how the additional revenues that are accruing to the government are utilized, and the use the palliatives and so on and so forth before one can come to a conclusion about who are the winners and who are the losers. But my worry even is not even that. It's the question of, okay, how do you determine winners and losers? What process do you use? How do you do that? If you asked 100 Nigerians today to tell you who are the winners and who are the losers, probably you'll have 100 different answers. And this is where I think I would like to recall the role I played as Minister of National Planning when I institutionalized for Nigeria results-based performance measurement. Because that is the way to actually determine whether the Nigerian is the beneficiary of any government measure or not. By focusing on results and delivery, I recall when we did that, we established the national framework for performance management, both at the federal and at the state level through the National Economic Council. And with that, there's a highly professional way in which you can determine whether Nigerians are actually benefiting from government policies, government transformation policies, or not. And you can do that very objectively as well. Because as I said, if you ask people today, people will express their opinions. But what is the basis for coming to those opinions? I think that will be the challenge. After leaving office, I'm also currently the chairman of the Board of Trustees of the Nigerian Association of Evaluators. And professionally, that's what we do. We assess policy. We try to come up with objective criteria by which you can determine whether policy is achieving its purpose, and in a quantitative way, express the benefits and the costs and who is benefiting and who is losing. I think President Tinubu, again without preempting the panelists, is moving in the right direction in this regard by setting up the Central Delivery Unit, and which is working on key performance indicators for all the ministers. Because that is one way to actually answer this question ultimately at the end of each year, or as promised by the person who is coordinating that function. On a quarterly basis, we will get results of performance by each of the ministers. The president is ultimately responsible. That's true. But he cannot do it alone, and he cannot be everywhere. So, in delegating authority, clear key performance indicators have to be set. I would also call actually that these key performance indicators need to be shared with the public. It's not enough to just say we've set key performance indicators for the ministers and the PAMSECs and the CEOs of other government agencies. These must be made public upfront, and then they're being tracked so that you can actually see whether people are achieving the targets that have been set for them. The second thing to commend the president in this regard is he says failure is not an option. So, if failure is not an option, there is then the need clearly to define what is failure and what are the consequences for failure. Because if you don't, again, this is why making those KPIs public is very important. You have to define failure, and you have to define the consequences for failure. And I'll give you just a few examples. In power and security. When we did the KPIs for the Minister of Power at the time, on the positive side, one of the KPIs for the Minister of Power, if I recall, was we looked at zones by zones and specified a certain minimum number of hours of supply of electricity that the minister must ensure per day for each. Of course, these things were supposed to be improving over time. So you're targeted to ensure a minimum number of hours of electricity supply. The police minister, we had data of crimes across the country, and we were tracking. You have to bring down crime rates over time as part of uh, uh, good. It used to if be that it showed that you are making progress. The KPIs and the consequences. The Minister of Power, we then specified that it is a disgrace in this country the national collapse. You know, where it's we had the statistics. We say, okay, Minister of Power, you are going to start reducing, ensuring that these system breakdowns are brought to zero over a certain period. I think it was 1 to 2 years. And if you are not able to do that at the end of that period, you will resign or the president will sack you. That's what I mean by consequences of failure. It is good that President Tinubu has said that failure is not an option, but there have to be those consequences stated clearly. The Minister of Police Affairs, I would include, for example, we have the details of crimes, kidnappings, for example, which is something that is bothering everybody recently. Give him the number and give him a period to say, in the next 1 year, bring down the number of kidnappings to whatever, and in the next 2 years, 0. If you give a minister that kind, it changes the minister's perspective. And he realizes that it is not about issuing contracts anymore. The office is a lot more than what is required is the coordination of everybody to ensure results. As I said, I don't want to actually become the keynote speaker, but I thought a few examples. So really that is the way that at the end of the day, we can determine whether the Nigerian is the winner or not, arising from all these government policies. And what it requires is that you have to quantify the gains and losses, and then you are able to identify the winners and the losers. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman of the occasion. Thank you. Allow me to introduce other guests in our midst today. We have here with us Professor Atahiru Jega, former INEC. Thank you. Please, a round of applause for Prof. It is just in order that I couldn't say it because it doesn't need introduction, since everyone here has heard of Jega at one time. And I must add, he was also my vice chancellor when I was in the university. You're much welcome, sir. Thank you. Mr. James Kayode Naeju, who is former Accountant General of the Federation. You're much welcome, sir. Thank you. Also with us here is Mr. Gabriel Aduku, former Minister of State for Health, Federal Republic of Nigeria. You're much welcome, sir. And also with us is another person who also doesn't need introduction, Malam Garba Shehu, former spokesperson to the President, Senior Special Advisor on Media and Publicity to the President. You're much welcome. And also here with us is Ambassador to many countries, including Sudan, Ambassador Suleiman Dahiru. You're much welcome. This Tinubu's economic reforms, winners and losers. As our chairman mentioned earlier, we took care to select panelists from among a broad section of Nigeria, labor, business, but also the government. So without further ado, I want to invite Dr. Victoria Akai, our panelist and former immediate past chair of the Abuja Chamber of Commerce, to speak on this, please. Please. Yes. Choose anywhere you want to sit.
I'd like to stand. Yes, I will. As quick as possible. Yes. Okay, that's fine.
You have a prepared speech here?
Yes.
Also with us is Mr. Joe Ajero. Can you join us at the panel, please? Thank you. Maybe you can come here so that I will be in your midst. Mr. This would be beautiful. It's like to represent my guest, correct? Sure. That it's all right. Okay. Thank you. Oh, I see. Thank you. So please. What we normally do in this section of the event is the panelists each make their presentations, and then the audience members will have an opportunity to interrogate their presentations while I just try to moderate the discussion. Thank you. We're starting with Dr. Victoria Akai.
The Board of Daily Trusts, past and present government dignitaries, please allow me to ride on the already established protocol. I'm very excited that we have a lot of intelligent economists here. The chairperson of the this lecture, Alhaji Shamsuddin. I had worked with an international donor when you were an honorable minister, and I know how intelligently you managed the Ministry of Budget and National Planning. Thank you. So my presentation is basically an objective presentation. A lot of research went down into it. I'm very excited that other economists are here. We will together address the issues that could be raised in this lecture. His government, it has been very rich and active in policies. If you remember the past government, it took about 6 months for us to even have the ministers to start having this discussion. But we have to commend this government. They were apt and they were fast, and a lot of key policy decisions were made on time. Seeing that we know that policies take time, reforms take time to crystallize. I'm delighted to have the opportunity to serve as a guest speaker today, discussing the extensive economic reforms spearheaded by His Excellency Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, and their broader implication on Nigeria's economy. President Tinubu's vision, as he articulated, revolves around the renewed hope agenda, emphasizing the unleashing of Nigeria's economic potential through job and social aims to tackle economic challenges, drive growth, and enhance the overall economic landscape. So before we dive into it, let's take some key economic projections. The projected GDP growth for 2024 initially was 2.9%, and this was projected by the World Bank. But after the World Economic Summit, it was revised to 3.3%, but it is as the world's fastest growing urban centers. And these cities are Uyo, Abuja, Nnewi, and Lokoja. I was also surprised when I saw that. Furthermore, our population growth is set as 2.5%, which is actually less than the increase in GDP. Furthermore, experts review has seen a substantial increase in the total factor productivity, rising from 1.1% in 2019 to 1.9% in 2023, indicating enhanced efficiency in production processes. Efforts to reduce Nigeria's debt burden has been intensified, and the NGX market capitalization has surged by 90% over the past 5 years. Moreover, the mobile broadband subscriptions have increased to significantly, and approximately it will increase to up to 38% by 2026, and that is 138 million subscriptions. So Nigeria is not all gloomy. There has been some really positive projections about us. In terms of natural resources, according to Nigeria's Energy Review, Nigeria boasts proven oil reserves of 3.7.1 billion barrels and proven gas reserves of 206 trillion cubic feet. With a population estimated at 220 million, Nigeria presents a significant consumer market. Efforts to assess external obligations has seen substantial progress, including the clearance of backlogs amounting to about $2 billion. However, challenges such as double-digit inflation, which we are all experiencing, with an average expected rate of about 23% exist, while exchange rate stability is envisioned for Q1 of 2024 to go upwards, and then an upward adjustment policy rate is anticipated in Q2 2024, then followed by a downward adjustment in Q2 2024. So we're expecting that inflation rates are going to go down. These projections indicate positive developments in the economy, including increased productivity, higher income levels, improved purchasing power, and growing demand for fast-moving consumer goods. So that's the good news. Specific government policies and reforms. One of the critical government policies involves the removal of Nigeria's foreign currency controls. However, this move has led to adverse effects on the naira and has impacted dollar flows to Nigeria. Urgent action is required to address this issue, to curb the negative impact on investment and the overall economic stability. Short-term policies should focus on implementing robust monetary measures to control inflation and stabilize the currency market, enhancing foreign exchange reserve management, and supporting local industries to boost export activities. In the medium term, structural reforms are essential to diversify the economy away from oil dependence, very important, and promote non-oil sectors such as agri and manufacturing. Nigeria definitely needs to industrialize. Long-term policies should prioritize human capital development, technology innovation, and infrastructure enhancement to boost productivity and competitiveness. Furthermore, tax reforms and to GDP ratio by 18% by 2026, which should significantly impact government revenue and overall economy. Now, the gains as a result of the presidential reforms, I extracted some gains, improved that the Nigerian economy is growing at a faster pace, 3.3% compared to the population growth. Nigeria's oil production rose to 9.16% to an average of about 1.3 million barrels per day in 2023. The Dangote refinery, which should guarantee supply of petroleum products, increased productivity due to reduced downtime, road and transport and seaport concessions. Huge infrastructure gap will be funded by structured finance infrastructure development through increased PPP, that's public-private partnership, GDP goals of 8% and in reality 3%. Opportunities for growth. Nigeria's potential for growth can be harnessed through strategic initiatives such as leveraging preferential trade agreements like the Africa's Continental Free Trade Agreement or the AGOA. Sectors that can be explored would include mining, agriculture, creative economy, leveraging on strong subsectors such as oil and gas, agri-again, finance services, telecommunications, and construction. There are huge challenges ahead, though. The challenges will include loop-sided growth, spiraling inflation at an 18-year high of about 28.92%, multi-dimensional poverty, perpetual currency misalignment, widening fiscal imbalances, and increasing income inequality. These require very, very urgent attention. There's also the risk of insecurity. These issues need to be addressed. Global risk. The World Economic Forum's Global Risk Report of 2024 believes that false information, fake news, 2 minutes. Fake news, rising conflicts, and economic uncertainty are amongst the most widespread risks facing this year. Fake news has really affected our country. Apart from fake news, actually bad publicity. We take this as a joke, but it has really demarketed our country and it has discouraged foreign direct investment, and in fact, even domestic direct investment, because besides that event, yeah. So my final word will be just a brief of our recommendations. And it also aligns with the NDU report that was presented this month. Controlling inflation and improving stability of the FX market, achieving fiscal consolidation of sustaining savings from PMS subsidy reforms and improving non-oil reserves, addressing structural barriers to growth, improving ease of doing business, that is. Government should improve national data integrity, because you really cannot plan without accurate data. The government should adopt more effective debt management strategies, deliberate efforts to rebrand Nigeria's global image through national orientation campaigns, capacity building for media, and then policy reforms must be implemented alongside institutional impact. So that is where I will stop, because my time is up. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Victoria Akai, the immediate past chair of the Abuja Chamber of Commerce. In her presentation, she takes the position that the government has started some reforms that are performing credibly, in the sense that some of our cities are now regarded as the fastest growing in the world. That GDP, which was initially projected to grow at 2.9%, is now going to be growing at around 3.3%, just about the rate at which our population also grows. She also believes that because of the government's reforms, the government is able to access external obligations, which in translation means debt, and that also, but there are challenges, for example, in terms of the unification of the Naira exchange rates. She believes this is causing a lot of problem with the Naira, the Nigerian currency. That inflation is also rising, although she hopes, she believes that it's going to climb down at some point in the future. So overall, she believes that these are reforms that we should hope and probably support in that in the road, in the next months and so on, things are going to get better for Nigeria. And I think at this point, we would like to hear from our second panelist, Mr. Joe Ajero, whether or not some of the ideas that Dr. Victoria has said are going to turn out like that. How do Labour feel about the government's reforms? Labour speaks on behalf of Nigeria and Nigerians. But before we go on, I would like to introduce a few people who are here with us today as well. I have with me, we have with us here Madam Jibrim Baba Ndache, the Director General, Voice of Nigeria. You're most welcome, sir. Thank you. Also with us is Mr. David Akoji, who is representing the DG National Orientation Agency, Mr. Lanre Isa Onilu. Mr. David Okoji. Okay. Also with us is Mr. Ahmed Sajo, fellow of the Nigeria Institute of Public Relations, who is representing the president of NIPR, Dr. Ike Neleaku. And then, of course, we have here Professor Muttaka Usman, who is of the Department of Economics, Ahmadu Bello University, Zaria. You're most welcome, Prof. He's the one going there. We also have here Professor Abdulaziz Shehu, the head of Department Economics, Bayes University. And with him are students of economics in Bayes University as well. Please, a round of applause for our students. Thank you. Also with us is the HOD Mass Communication Nile University. I didn't know, together with him also his students of Mascom Nile University. Please, a round of applause.
I also try to government it up. So I know that I can be comfortable to talk, because it's wrong to talk about government policy when they have not stated their policy. I'm still worried whether we'll have any policy, reform policy on ground. What I'm seeing is a palliative economy, palliative policy, as we'll talk today. And that worries me. And subsidy policy. And some of them seem to be emergency policies. I'm not going to talk critically on all the economic policies. I'm going to talk on how it affects the common man on the street. And that is what concerns me. And by the time the topics we are given, the winners and the gainers, you knew the winners and the gainers. That was why you brought me here as the losers, representing the losers. So as a representative of the losers, I will talk from that perspective, so that this debate will balance. I don't intend to read, but let me just look at what I call reforms. I say reforms are any kind. Reforms of any kind comes with an acceptance that the existing order has become ineffective and inefficient, thus needs to be rejigged for greater performance. It is this acceptance that creates the urgency for reform. In any case, reforms are expected to produce better results or outcomes for the people. If not, it becomes deformation. Now, we have seen a lot of Tinubu's economic policies, mainly driven by the Bretton Woods institutions, World Bank and IMF, almost all. Whether you are talking of subsidy removal or privatization, those are the instructions that are coming from the World Bank and IMF. 2 months ago, we had it rough with the World Bank, telling them to increase the pump price of petroleum products further. Now they are talking of privatization. 99%, if not 100% of companies privatized in the country have disappeared. They have failed. And then we are sustaining it. If you read the newspapers of yesterday, you hear of 5 companies in the power sector that were built by over $5 billion, that they are about selling for $1 billion. And these are policies. If you check even the pronouncement this year, you hear that they have budgeted 1.8 trillion as subsidy for the power sector. Meanwhile, the power sector was privatized at the cost of 400 billion. That was what they sold the then NEPA. And then you subsidize it with 1.8 trillion in a year. A personal business. You sold your house for 2 million and you are giving the person 10 million to repair it. That is prodigal economy. It doesn't happen anywhere. And then it's not difficult to find out the losers are the gainers. This is a situation where you have public disaster and private gain. The few private go to the bank and smile, and the public suffer. On the basis of that, I wanted to disagree with the proposal somebody made that before subsidy removal, that the people were that the marketers were enjoying. Before subsidy removal, we were buying it at 287. It's the masses that should be enjoying. And after subsidy removal, we are buying it at about 700. So whichever way you look at it, from 187 to 700 or 600 is the masses that are suffering, no matter how you look at it. So we are the losers, and I'll continue. The valuation of the naira. It took Buhari 8 years to move from 260 naira to $1 to 700. Within 6 months, we have moved from 700 to 1,350. Check it. As at yesterday. So who are the losers? And who are the gainers? I want us to understand, who are the winners and who, because we are sounding as if it is too early to measure the indices and the steps being taken so far. The losers are those who move from buying petroleum products from 187 to 700 and something. Those are the losers. The losers are those who were paying their transportation at 1,000 to work, and today they are paying 4,000 without commensurate increase in salary and wages. The losers are those that you increase what you call a wage award and you refuse to implement. Those are the losers. Up to this moment, it's not far to look for the losers. The losers are we, the common people. And there's no economic policy you are going to tell us that doesn't add anything to the poor masses. That you are telling me you are saving more money. What do we save more money for? Section 2 of the Constitution is clear there. Sorry, chapter 2. That is talking of the government being there for public good. And continuously they say it's not justiciable. Now, why do you have such a good policy that is not justiciable? It was put there for the sake of putting it there. We have foreign exchange market and the windows, margin of the windows. We have fiscal expansion, increasing debt stock. They are borrowing. I think the NNPC or whatever was said last time, to borrow more money for this economy. Who will pay it? Because it's important, for us to understand this. I doubt whether we'll have enough time, but we're going to discuss this on and on and on. So each time they want to tell you the rationale behind subsidy removal, they will tell you is to save more money. You have to suffer a bit, and so that you can gain. So that we suffer on earth and enjoy in heaven, as Fela will put it. From 6 kobo during the Gowon era, we started increasing. Each time the increase is the same purpose. They will tell us the same story. These guys are not ingenious to change. Buhari removed subsidy. They say subsidy has been removed when he moved to 145. This subsidy is a card that has 9 lives. If another government comes again. And the meaning of subsidy in the Nigerian economy is increase in price. You will be hearing all the analysis. The implications of hike in petroleum products include inflationary pressure. Of course, all of us are witnessing it. It includes increased transportation. That one is worst on the worker. High cost of living. Business operations become costly to maintain, increasing inventories, depreciation of the value of the naira, growing unemployment. Companies are closing down on a daily basis. People are becoming unemployed. And which policy is that policy that will keep people out of job? That the purchasing power is not even there for the worker and for the unemployed. And we are talking of economic growth. When my sister was talking of economic growth, I was worried. How do you measure economic growth? Is it by the amount of money we have? Government has never funded the issue of subsidy, sort of petroleum products. But they wanted to make more gain. And this gain that we are making, what are we doing with it? The palliatives, are you guys paying? What is the record? On daily basis, my sister was equally saying that we should stop negative publicity. We should stop negative and bad policy. Bad policy advertises itself. There's nobody in Nigeria that will not talk that. There's nobody in Nigeria, I say it now. There's nobody in Nigeria that will not say that when you say that Minister of Humanitarian transfer money in a private account, that it is Nigerians that are doing bad publicity. It's the policy. It's the act of the people in government that the media are reporting. Because I have a media background. So we report what we see. So it's not a question of that we are not patriotic. We are. I want to equally add, because they have started giving me warning. Nigeria is the poverty capital of the world. I don't know how you are going to do it. Before the removal of subsidy of Nigeria, where you have 133 million Nigerians living on less than $1 per day. And then after the removal of subsidy, I think it has worsened. The problem is that most of our people, they don't go to the market. Go and check a bag of corn that is not imported. You get it at 50-something thousand. Now, corn that we are producing locally. Check all the locally produced products. And my Oga was talking of KPI on power sector. It's not just on how many hours you receive. The power sector is gone. For 200 and something million Nigerians to have 4,000 megawatts. When the world recommended position is that 1 million people for 1,000 megawatts. So how are you going to manage in such a situation, no matter the mandate you are giving to the person? And then you have given it over to the private sector, whose motive is profit. And that profit, whether you like it or not, we had a comatose private sector. I'm not ashamed to say it here. They said they bought the power sector and they went and borrowed money from banks. All the discourse in the country have been taken over by banks, but they couldn't pay. From Abuja, Kano, Kaduna Electricity, Ibadan, Benin, all of them. You see Nigerians that went today to borrow money from bank and buy the power sector tomorrow. And today they can't pay back to on the banks. And the banks are running the power sector, and you expect it to perform. And what they told us they needed was a foreign direct investment, technical competence, managerial ability, and these people, none of them met. And we had proxies as the owners of the power sector. As we talk today, nobody can tell us the owner of one power sector in the country. Now, the issue is that what is the Tinubu government going to do about these policies? He is trying to do what has been happening before. He said TCN and others that they will be privatized. And you knew that the privatization has failed. And you want us to go into that policy. My own understanding of what is happening with the Tinubu government is that we can change. Like many people said, they are still new. 7 months, 8 months. But we have to look at the policies, what others have done up to this moment. Is it paying off? If it's not paying off, what do we do? Privatization policy introduced by Jonathan was there. Buhari came and didn't say anything about it. He didn't reverse it. He didn't improve on it. It seems Tinubu wants to improve on it. If he improves on it, it's going to affect us. Because the private sector in the power sector, they can't even participate in the power sector. At what return on investment would they do it? Check all the countries of the world. It takes the state, to build a power sector. And that's what they're doing now. And selling it at giveaway prices. Because for how many years now, since 2005, over 30 companies have been licensed to, generate electricity. None of them has built any power plant. None of them has generated a watt, as we talk today. So I think the Tinubu government should look at all these things holistically, so that we have a conscious master plan to drive Nigeria. Yes, I agree that Nigeria was down as at the time he came in. But I think the first 2 or 3 policies have inflicted more injury on Nigerians. And those injuries are penning. Coupled with the cash crunch, the Buhari government did it. The central bank again started doing it. And I will earn 30,000 a month. I will now go and pay 500 naira to be able to withdraw my money or to get cash from POS or whatever. The situation is getting worse and will continue to worsen until we do a policy reversal. God bless you all.
Please, I think the president of the NLC, Mr. Joe Ajero, deserves another round of applause for his presentation. Thank you very much. His opinion is of the opinion that the government doesn't have any clear-cut policies, save for emergency policies. Some of these emergency policies have inflicted, as he said, even more injury than Nigerians. He believes that the idea of who are gainers and who are losers is very clear, that the masses have been the losers. Those who pay transport and who have seen their transport rise from what they used to pay before and now are the losers. Those who don't have jobs are the losers. He would like to see that government takes a different approach or even reverse these policies. So thank you very much once again, Mr. Ajoro. Normally at this point, this is the point where audience members get an opportunity to intervene into the program by making contributions, by asking questions and or comments. But before we get to that point, we, like I said earlier, our African of the Year event is coming up at the same time as the Daily Trust annual dialogue this time around. So the winner of that event, as you might have read, happens to be a South African person by the name Dr. Imtiaz Suleiman. Please, a round of applause for him. The South African ambassador, Mr. Thami Mseleku, is going to collect the award on his behalf, and our Honorable Minister of Information, Alhaji Muhammad Idris, is going to present that award on his behalf. Let me say that people don't know, the Honorable Minister is in fact 2 ministers in one person, because he is the Minister of Information, Federal Republic of Nigeria. He's also the Kakakin Nupe, which is also the same position in Nupe Kingdom. So a round of applause for him. If I may welcome you to the high table, please. Yes, sir. Where's the... Yes. You will hand over to him. Those who make a brief comment as well. Okay.
Do I open it? On behalf of the management of Media Trust, publishers of Daily Trust newspaper, I present to you the 2023 African of the Year Award presented to Dr. Imtiaz Suleiman in recognition of your extraordinary contributions to human development. Congratulations, and we expect that you pass on this on to him. friend, Comrade Ajero, will know that I reserve the right of reply. It is impossible for me to come here and listen to Comrade and then go back and sit down. We have been battling with him. I was a member of the presidential committee that negotiated the last wage award with the federal government. And I know the long hours we've had with Comrade at a point when when they were to announce the suspension of strike, the Comrade and his colleagues were very hesitant. And I took the microphone and I said that based on the conversations that we think that the Nigerian Labour Congress was going to suspend the strike. And Comrade said, I have taken the liberty and I have taken the right to suspend strike on behalf of Labour, and I don't have that right. And what I said was, I was only communicating the conversations that we have had. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I have attended at least half of the trust dialogues, the 21 dialogues that they've had, at least half. I've been here. The last one, I came as the General Secretary of the Newspaper Proprietors Association of Nigeria. Today, I'm here as Minister of Information and National Orientation. Let me say that the media trust is perhaps one of the most responsible media organizations in this country. I have followed their trajectory from day one. And I know that Malan Kabir will remember that about 21 or 22 years ago, we had a conversation around how this project was going to start. And I was one of those that were in that discussion. Unfortunately for me, I didn't see so far, and I didn't really get on board. A few years after I wanted to, and the doors were shut. But I think that media trust has done so much good for this country, even when we disagree. I personally feel that sometimes they take too much editorial liberty, but overall, I think the media trust has done so much, like other newspapers in this country. We need to congratulate them once again. I bring also warm tidings of the federal government of Nigeria, and particularly President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. The fact that we are having this conversation here now indicates that the Nigerian press is indeed free. Without press freedom, we know that democracy will not thrive. Of course, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu didn't institute that, but he has further strengthened it. There is nobody that has been gagged. There is no one that has been questioned about his expression in the Nigerian media space. But like we always say, freedom of expression comes with enormous responsibility. You cannot have freedom and also not be responsible for that freedom. So it is important that whatever we say it truthfully, honestly, and responsibly. As Minister of Information, I have given a pledge to Nigerians that I am going to say it as honestly and as transparently possible. Nigerian government is not desirous of gagging press freedom or putting press freedom under any fear. Nigerian press is largely free, but like we keep saying, please report responsibly and honestly. Now, I had the the chairman of Media Trust in his opening remarks say that the Nigerian government did not, beyond recommending a two-state solution to the crisis in between Israel and Gaza and the Palestinians, did not actually condemn the killings. I think that is not factual. I was at Riyadh at the OIC conference on Gaza. I was here personally with the Minister of Foreign Affairs representing President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. And Nigeria indeed condemned what was happening in Gaza and also advocated for a two-state solution as a way out of the crisis. Only a few days ago, Mr. Blinken was here, and the chairman of Media Trust again said we missed an opportunity to tell Secretary of State Blinken, about the need to stop the carnage in Gaza. I think that happened. I was there also. The president clearly, unequivocally told Secretary of State Clinton about the need to stop the carnage in Gaza. Perhaps the communication is not so wide enough, but I must tell you the Nigerian government is actually in the forefront of ensuring that not only Gaza or Palestinians and Israelis have a two-state solution, but also insisting that the carnage and the destruction and the killing in Gaza will stop. I think it's a federal government position. And the federal government, led by President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, has always insisted about the humanity in all of us. I was there when President Bola Ahmed Tinubu had meetings with fellow world leaders, especially on the sidelines of the OIC in Riyadh. And at each conversation or discussion he has had with world leaders, his focus had always been on the humanity in all of us. I think we should put that straight so that we don't also miss this opportunity. Comrade, the conversation around the wage award, I think that it is important that we also put it out that it is not just that federal government has agreed to pay labor wage award. There were a lot of other things that were discussed, and I know that you will say that they are not as fast enough as we had discussed on that day. The CNG buses, which we jointly signed and agreed upon, is already beginning to be implemented. The 35,000 wage award, I know that there were some disruptions, some technical disruptions in the way that they were implemented, but I can tell you that the president is committed to ensuring that every kobo meant for the wage award is paid to all entitled federal workers. The federal government has insisted that it has made a commitment. And I remember, and I know you do remember, comrade, that on the 1st of October, when the president made his broadcast, what he said was that he was going to give Nigeria 25,000. But we met in the evening of that day, and you insisted that you needed more than 25,000. We went back to the president. After a short break with you, we went back to the president. The Minister of Finance was invited. The Accountant General was invited. The numbers were run. And the federal government agreed that it could do 35,000 naira. So within a few hours, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu listened to Labour once again and made that increase, which you agreed upon. There was also the issue of the palliatives that you talked about. Now, because the need to cushion that effect, it will be an emergency one or the one driven by palliative. what it seek to address was that it is important that people have an immediate cushion to what was happening before a long-term solution was proffered. And we agree with Labour because the current regime of salary increase is going to come to an end around the end of March or early April. And the agreement was that let us have this wage award for 6 months, after which the federal government will now sit down with Labour again to come up with a new federal minimum wage. And I know that government is already putting together that committee, and very soon Labour will be invited for a conversation around that. So it's not all gloomy, it's not all emergency. Of course, if you have an immediate shock, it is important that you have a first aid, kind of, before a long-term solution is being proffered. And that is being done jointly with Labour itself. It's not only the federal government that is sitting in the room and providing the solution. At every turn, we invite Labour to come and sit down and look at these solutions. And I also want you, comrade, that even when the federal government was making this wage award or providing some of this so-called cushion or palliative, as you may call it, it didn't just stop at the federal government level. Every state of the federation was involved because we know that that's where the population reside. And all the governors were invited. Today, you said it here, that no state governor is not getting an addition of not less than 50% of what he used to get. So let's also ask the governors, what are they also doing with those funds? It's not only the federal government that should answer about that. The state governors are there. When the federal government gave immediate money for the purchase of grains, it didn't do it itself. It handed it over to the state governors. Monies were given to them. Assorted fertilizers were also bought. These are all done by the state governors. Now, the approach of Bola Ahmed Tinubu is that of inclusivity. Everyone is involved, including Labour. I know they will disagree, and disagreement is all part of democracy. Either disagree and come back to agree. But overall, it is important to know the vision of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu to provide succor to Nigerians and to revamp this economy, to return Nigeria to the prosperity that all of us all desire. But these things, I know you will agree with me, take time. I'm not saying that 7 months is a short time, but 7 months is not even enough cycle for a woman to deliver after conceiving. So let's give the federal government a chance. The president is desirous of making life better for Nigerians. And there is also the talk about the KPIs. And Dr. Shamsuddin Usman, the chairman of the occasion, a very respected, distinguished Nigerian, mentioned the issue of having the key performance indicators, data of that is already developing apps for Nigerians so that in the comfort of your houses, you use technology to track the activity of every ministry, every department of government. You don't even have to come here or listen to the Minister of Information or any other person. You can sit in the comfort of your home and make that analysis. I think that is all in progress, and we'll see that happen. So many things. I know that we need to engage more. We need to talk more. On the issue of orientation that Dr. Akai talked about, only 2 days ago, I received a report from a committee of experts that sat down to look at the Nigerians' value charter. That charter is aimed at defining who the Nigerian citizen is and what is that social contract that exists between Nigeria and government and vice versa. That is already in the works. It's going to be unveiled by the president very soon. And I will tell you that value orientation and reorientation is at the cornerstone of this administration's desire to change Nigeria. And that is why the Ministry of Information itself is rechristened Ministry of Information and National Orientation, with emphasis on national orientation. We know, and I do know, comrade, that even when you say that we need to say it as it is, that is true. It is factual. But every country of the world also has this sense of patriotism about his country. We cannot run down our country and expect that others will come here. The FDI we are talking about will never come if all the stories coming out of Nigeria is in the negative. We are not saying that people should not report what is happening in Nigeria, but we should also report those positive things that are also happening in this country. So much is happening, and we all know it. Please, let's not downplay the negatives for the positives for the negatives. The positives are also there. I hope, and I had hoped that the Minister of Finance will come here. I'm not very good with economics, but of course, as Minister of Information, it is expected that you know a little bit of everything. So I know a little bit of that economics, and I know what is happening. And I do hope that once he has the opportunity to be here, he is going to give a correct account of what the economy stands. We know that there is hardship, and government is working around the clock to turn the curve. Nigerians, please give a chance to President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. Give him an opportunity to make all these policies come to Nigeria will be better for you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, the Honorable Minister of Information and National Orientation, Alhaji Muhammad Idris Kaka-Kinnipe. Please, a round of applause for him. In his indirect response to some of the conversations here, he has said that the Tinubu government is still in the labor room and still in the kitchen, cooking a fantastic dish for Nigerians. And that if Nigerians are patient enough, over time, they are going to see and feel the impact of the government, because the government is an inclusive one and a listening one, and pays attention not only to the cries of Nigerians, but also working towards what it will do about it. Thank you once again, sir. I want to call on the South African ambassador to have a word for the African of the Year award, Dr. Imtiaz Suleiman, please. A round of applause for him, please. Yeah.
Director of Ceremonies, Honorable Minister, let me stand on, you want me to go stand there and look very serious? Let me stand on existing protocols, and I'd like to, on behalf of Dr. Suleiman, express our sincere gratitude to the Daily Trust Board, everybody, for recognizing the work that the Gift of the Givers do all over the world. As you can see, the work is called the Gift of the Givers. And of course, there's only one gift that givers get. It's the love of God. And God loves a very good giver. So, you as the Daily Trust are representing that love of God to give back to Dr. Suleiman for the work that the Gift of the Givers do all over the world. Therefore, on his behalf, I know the chairman has actually spoken to him several times to confirm this award, and I'm sure he's very appreciative to it. It will give him more energy to continue to do the work, especially, as you know, it's not a very easy job that he and his people do. Some of them, like the journalists you're talking about in Gaza, have also been killed in the process of actually trying to assist the people of Gaza and other parts of the world. So it's not a very easy job that they do. And the appreciation that you give actually gives them more strength and energy to continue the good work they are doing. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Thami Mseleku. A round of applause for him once more, and then allow me to introduce Comrade Senator Sheikh Hussaini, who is also here with us. Thank you. Also here with us is Mr. Stanley Wokocha, who is Senior Special Assistant on Media and Publicity in the Office of the Vice President. Where are you, my friend? Yeah. Thank you. Also here with us is Commissioner of Finance and Economics Planning for Katsina State, Honorable Muhammad Bello Kagara. Thank you. Also here with us is Honorable Musa Sule, Commissioner of Commerce and Industry in Plateau State. You're much welcome, sir. Thank you. Also here with us is Professor Yahaya Kuta, Pro-Chancellor Abdulkadir Kure University. You're much welcome, Prof. And we also have here with us Professor Olu Obaru, a medical consultant based in the UK. Can we say this is a reverse Japa syndrome, since you are based in the UK and you are returning to Nigeria? Is that? Thank you, sir. You're welcome. So we go on to the next phase of the program, where we engage the audience, where we give the audience opportunity to engage the panelists. But before then, allow me a few minutes to give an opportunity to His Excellency, the Governor of Katsina State, who is being ably represented here by his Deputy, Honorable Farouk Lawal Jobe. Please, a round of applause for him, please.
The chairman of the occasion, Dr. Shamsuddin, Honorable Minister of Information and National Orientation, and other distinguished personalities, good afternoon. I want to thank the organizers of this program, and I also want to appreciate the opportunity given to us, the people of Katsina State, which our governor should have been here, but unavoidably absent, to say one or two things about the topic for today. When you look at the federal government or the Tinubu economic reform agenda, well, it is time that we can start making assessment on who are the gainers and the losers. So it's not too early for us to start. But one thing I want to point out is that we have to, all of us agree that from the beginning, the government has a plan. And this plan was made available, and it was critical. Where amendments were done, or some modification to the plan were actually done, and people were given opportunity to air their views. So it is time for action, and government is somehow in the process of implementation within the last 78 months that they have been in office. And therefore, for us to do justice to ourselves, we need to have an M&E process where we can monitor and evaluate what our promises we have made to the citizens of this country, and the collective responsibility is all of us to do that. So, one thing that is generally lacking is that we tend to criticize, not realizing the fact that all of us have a duty to ensure that things are done rightly wherever we are given opportunity to do so. And therefore, governance is a collective responsibility. And I see sometimes lack of commitment from maybe the political class or the machinery to implement the government policy, that is the civil service. And therefore, when we have this kind of occasion, I want us to do justice to everyone and look at the role that is being played by all the players in the game for us to passion our way so that we can continue to do things differently from where we are coming from. No doubt Nigeria, we are not doing well, and we need to do more than what we are doing today. And we have all it takes in terms of talent, opportunities, and resources to be where we should be as a country. This can also be done through consistent and periodic review of our policies in the process of implementation. And we should also have to understand that apart from the things that can be done at the national level, as subnationals, we also have a role to play. Like in Katsina State, what we promised the people of Katsina State is that we want to secure the state. And we wanted to make it our priority. Katsina is part of the Northwest. We have problems with insecurity, cattle rustling, kidnappings for ransom, and so many other negative things that are happening. We studied the concept and the script of what was done previously before we came into office, and we realized that there are some gaps between the conventional security architecture and what we can do as citizens of the state and leaders. We had to come up with an idea of a community watch call, which we engaged the conventional security architecture. We have this problem starting from the 8 frontline local governments in the Rugu forest. But at a point, out of the 34 local governments that we have in the state, we have this problem in virtually 19 local governments. When considering the resources available and the time you need to do things, we thought that we have to start from somewhere. We engaged the citizens of the state who have served this country in various capacity in terms of security. We engaged some of them. We recruited 1,466 young men using the same conventional criteria being used by the Nigerian Army and the police to enlist them. We trained them within a period of 2 months. We equipped them and we resourced them. We provide 61 brand new Hilux, 700 motorcycles, and all of them are now carrying pump action. We took into consideration the need to have synergy with the conventional security. So we started with the 8 local governments. And I tell you, today we have a success story. Because what we did was to recruit the locals who knows these bandits, who have lived with them. And after we trained them, during the training and when we conceived the idea, in fact, what we saw and what we went through. Okay, before we actually got into that, it was very, very challenging. I tell you that we discovered virtually everybody is responsible and everybody was involved in this issue. And therefore, we have to confront the issue head on. Today, we have done a lot to neutralize the bandits and to work on credible information that we get from the locals, particularly on the issue of those who are the informants to these bandits. Everybody is free to check their records. I'm sure we have done a lot in that direction. And the negative consequence of this is impacting on the economy. No doubt, the Northwest is contributing so much in terms of agriculture. Today we are talking of maize, for instance, going as high as 50,000 and above for a bag of 100 kg. Because people are being deprived of their means of livelihood. They can no longer go to the farms. We're not importing this maize, but we produce it locally. But if people are allowed to go to the farms, we wouldn't have been in this mess. Only God knows the millions of cattle that are in that Rugu forest today. And therefore, this has affected the economy of the Northwest. And therefore, we have to look at all this holistically and see how we can come up with an idea of addressing the issue at all levels so that we can move forward as a country. Thank you very much for giving me the opportunity.
Thank you. Thank you very much once again, Your Excellency, Deputy Governor of Katsina State, for your comments. He speaks not just on behalf of Katsina State, but also on the Northwest as a whole. I personally like the idea of the economy of the Northwest, because the idea probably opens up opportunities for understanding Nigeria regionally, but in economic terms, rather than in geopolitical terms as we are familiar with. So thank you once again. This is where we bring the audience in, and we welcome everyone. And today we are going to make an exception. We are starting not from the high table, but from the low table. I see a student, a female student, raising her hand at the other end. She's going to speak first. Please, can you stand up so that everyone will see you? When you get the mic to speak, you tell us your name, your school, or your position, and then you ask your question or make your comment. Thank you. Can someone give her the mic, please? Eno, please. You can take this.
Good morning to you all. My name is Halima Mohammed Musa, and I am from Now University, and I'm from the Mass Communication Department. Yes, thank you. I just want to make a comment on what Dr. Victoria said, and also Comrade Joseph said. Yes, thank you. I just wanted to say what she said about the issue of maximizing our agricultural sector. That is a very, very important issue. As Nigeria as a whole is a fertile land, we are blessed with so many agricultural resources. We have so much that people outside benefit from us. So we have to maximize our agricultural sector. We do not have to depend on petroleum, because we have so much more than petroleum to see. So, but we cannot just do that unless the people are secured, because there is no way anybody who has a family and wants to live in peace would go to the farm while you know that you can be killed at any moment. I personally am from Katsina State, and I am from Namusa local government, and I know what my people are going through every blessed day, because my father is like a leader in that area. So whenever those kind of things happen, even though he is old, like they usually call him, tell him what's happening. So it's a very good thing that our deputy governor said, and I testify to it, because I am coming from those areas. I know what's happening, and they are trying, alhamdulillah. So the government has to take a very good step on maximizing our agricultural sector. Another thing is that...
That's enough. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you. You know, you can stay there and help out. Please, before you speak, allow me the opportunity to introduce Dr. Isa Aremu, who is the DG Nigeria National Institute of Labor Studies. Please.
Doctor. Excuse me. I would like to also join those who have spoken. Appreciate the Media Trust for keeping faith with annual dialogue on topical national issues. And I'm even more excited with the way the dialogue has become more inclusive. And in recent time, it's quite refreshing that you have provided a platform for the proletarians, the masses, ably represented by the president of Nigeria Labour Congress, Comrade Joe Ajero. Please, I think Daily Trust, you deserve a round of applause. And if we have to give you an award, I think NSC we can think of giving Comrade Kabiru Yusuf some fellowship of comradeship. But I'm not surprised with his antecedent as our senior in ABU in those days, where we came from tradition of dialogue and engagement. But the one that is of interest to me, just 1 or 2 points, is also the fact that, Comrade Jero, you have lived up to expectation. You know, we have an unwritten rules in the NSC that the not so tall you are, the more you can cause trouble. When I saw you speaking very well, telling it the way it is, I think it reminds me of Comrade Adams Oshomole, and some of us who are a bit taller than you, it also reminds us of ourselves. I think that's quite wonderful, well presented. But I agree that we normally tell it the way it is, but also we should also give suggestions, the way to get it done. And I think, Comrade Jero, you raised a very good point that it's time for President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's administration to move from policies that are immediate to something more systematic, more coherent. Because at times when we talk of World Bank, IMF, they feel a vacuum that is not there. And I think my suggestion would be that we should return to development plan, national development plan. And I think our keynote speaker is in a better position for that. Whoever is actually planning to fail. And whatever I want to say with President Muhammad Buhari, he laid basis, he returned us back to development plan. The new national development plan of 2021 to 2025. And this is the same administration. I think we should return to that. Dr. Fashwa, you are here. And I know the miracle of Asiwaju in Lagos was because they had a development plan. I think we should return back to that. There was once in Nigeria a first development plan, second development, third development plan, which made us to be one of the promising countries, in the world. We need to return back to that. Then the last one is that I think, Comrade Jero, interestingly, Dr. Victoria she's more comradely than we can imagine. I listened to the statistics you brought out. Very interesting. I listened very well. Beyond the growth rate, population growth rate. You also mentioned, for the first time in recent time, labor factor productivity. That it increased from 1.7 to 1.9. I hope I got it right. And I think that's remarkable. That in spite of poor pay, low pay, the working people of Nigeria, they are still adding value. They're increasing product. You cannot imagine what we can do more. If you motivate workers more, you pay them very well. And I think we should build on that for policy implication. And to do so means that we have to promote dialogue more. I listen to Minister of Information. I think there is need for partnership more between labor and the federal government, to drive the working poor out of poverty. People who are poor on account of poor pay. And I heard the minister saying so. President Bola Ahmed has increased pay from 30,000 to 35, to added additional 35,000, 65,000. This government has paid federal 1 month, I think some 2 months, I'm not sure, but it's not consistent. And I think you've made that point. But the state governors are simply not paying. I'm scandalized that in some state, 18,000 minimum wage was not being paid, not talk of 30,000. So I think we need an alliance at all levels, especially federal and labor, because labor is on the exclusive list. And I'm happy what you've done through engagement. We have to carry that to down the line. And I think that's just the contribution I want to make, that we must stop underrating human resources. And
thank you very much.
And I'm happy Daily Trust has brought this to the fore. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for your kind comments. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, last year, Dr. Tobe Fashiwa was here, and he was in the audience, and he raised his hands to speak several times. I was moderating. I kept thinking, okay, I will choose him next. Until the program ended. I couldn't get to do it. It was not deliberate. It was just how it goes. Today he is here again, but this time as the special advisor on economic matters in the office of the vice, office of the vice president. So a round of applause for him today. I call you to come and speak in your own capacity for 2 minutes. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Suleiman. Thank you very much. And please, all protocols observed. My father's in the house. Of course, I'm not a stranger to the Media Trust Group. I was a columnist every week between 2006 and 2023. That's for 17 years. I was almost going to begin to ask Dr. Kabiru for my pensions, actually. But that said, it's good to be here. I'm not really representing the Minister of Finance, and that's why I couldn't sit where I haven't been designated to sit, because he didn't instruct me. I was afraid he may come in sometime during the program. But because I'm also a member of the economic team, even though I'm a little bit, I'm way down the pecking order, I just believe there's a need to chip in. 2 minutes will not be enough. Maybe give me 7 minutes. I'll try and speak very fast, even though I'm recovering from a flu. But I'll speak very fast and get it done. So essentially, I just wanted to say that the idea behind the economic reforms of President Tinubu is actually about gainers and gainers, not gainers and losers. We don't intend that there should be losers. However, some may get the gains a little bit later than others. However, we want to also ensure that we quickly tip this scale over so that the majority of Nigerians who are poor and struggling are the ones that would actually get the gains early. And I'll tell you how. Of course, strong words have been used. The economy is in tailspin. It's been said here, economic downturn and all of that. However, there's still hope to be had in this renewed hope agenda. I want to very quickly say that 88% of Nigerians are in informal economy, according to the Bureau for Statistics. And many of them may not be covered essentially by the NLC. Many of the wage reviews that the NLC is asking for does not even concern those people. However, the kind of economy we run and policy is also evolving will also include a word for these people, the artisans. We're working on something to ensure that, the artisans can get a bit more for the work they do. Those are the kind of people that work for you, and you ask them, how much is your money? They say, give me anything you have. Nobody actually bothers about those people in this country. Not even the NLC, must be said. A lot of them are not unionized. And if we're going to have even things like guilds, which they can work under, because this benefit must go around. Again, this must be said. Before I go into some specifics, young Nigerians, when they were talking about disparaging this country, and I saw, unfortunately, some of the university students say, yeah, please don't be deceived. Some of us have been there and back. This is your country. Don't let anybody deceive you into actually giving up on your country. Never. If you go abroad and study, come back home. Even my children is one of those universities who are here. Some of us have been there and back. This is your country, and nobody is going to build your country for you. And there are also issues everywhere you go. Just 2 days ago, a Nigerian boy of 28 years old was killed in another shooting in his business. 2 weeks ago, it was the son of a former member of the House of Reps. Every day, hundreds of people are killed. 40,000 people killed by gun violence in the United States of America. Yet, if they gave anybody here, I'm sorry to say, aside from the elders, gave us a visa, we'll be out. Because we think that they call it God's own country. Ours is also God's own country. And God bless Nigeria. And so I want to say that, of course, Comrade Ajero actually asked for holistic policies, and that's great. And I also want to quickly say that the privatization policy, yes, of course, it's not every privatization that has worked well, but I think the key thing to note is that the era of government-run business is actually over. The economic policy that we are operating under the Tinubu administration borders on pragmatism without actually becoming ideologue. We're going to take the best from capitalism, take the best from socialism, take the best from everywhere for our people. And so the era where government was running steel rolling mills, running hotels, running even refineries is actually long over. It can't work anymore. It was fashionable at some point to go to Russia to get funding for some of these things. But now you must actually consider a refinery is a business. And so this is the point where we are today. We must be able to say, let us privatize what we can privatize, and what government can run, let government run it. There's still a lot of space for government to operate in our system. There's still a lot of place for government employment. We have one of the lowest percentage of people employed by government to the working population in the world. It's not more than 5%. In fact, it was like 3-4%. Last time I checked. You go to the Scandinavian countries, it's 30%, 35%. Because you look at it, it's called government presence. It's called manning levels. We don't have teachers where we should have teachers. We don't have enough security men where we should have security men. We don't have a social service. 50% to 60% of the people who are jackbuying out of this country today are going to work as social workers, taking care of mad people who are mentally challenged, people who are physically challenged, people who are old. We also have them here. If we have value on ourselves and our lives and our people, we should be advocating that we push more people in that area to take care of our people and the ambience of our society. Very quickly, I'd want to say that for you to understand what government is doing in terms of the economy, if you look at the way the budget is evolving, we have a 28.77 trillion budget coming up. It's not nearly enough where we should be. But the advocacy is that we should do a whole lot more because we have a lot more work to do. But I can assure you that this year and going forward, because President Tinubu himself is an auditor, is an accountant, and he has brought people like Mr. Wale Edu, who is unfortunately not here today, Mr. Yemi Cardoso, who spoke yesterday at the NASG conference, you see that the thinking is a lot more frugal. Of course, we can't sort it all out in one year. But I want us to begin to not think about government as a bunch of wastrels. A lot of us are actually making a lot of sacrifices. And I must be said, my senior colleague, Dr. Ahmed, is here. We're around the same office. Even for you to get paid is a problem. Nobody has any official car. You use your car. You come to work. I brought my printer to the office. So people are making sacrifices in government. So very quickly, I believe that we have an advantage. 2024 budget, a relatively big size. There's a skew in favor of capital budgeting. For the first time, we have about 10 trillion going into capital, which can be funded. This is no joke. If you see that 2-3 weeks ago, the Minister of Finance brought out another rule in terms of the management of the Treasury single account. We're going to be pulling a lot more of that money in. Okay? And of course, the states themselves are doing 15.9 trillion in terms of budget, the biggest ever. Lagos alone is doing 2.25 trillion. And many states across the country are thinking bigger. And of course, the challenge, Dr. Suleiman, have been done in one minute. The challenge is also for us to actually put a bit more pressure on the states. Deputy Governor, Your Excellency, sir, with all due respect, you know, last month we shared about 1.1 trillion in FAC to the state. There's an arbitrage advantage for the states. The arbitrage is that if you are owing a contractor 50 million, even 3 years ago, it's still 50 million today. Please pay so that the more liquidity can go into the system, so that contractors' families can also survive and benefit, so that the economy can grow. That is where we're looking at growth coming from. So basically, I think that this is where we are going, and a lot more is coming for the people, even in terms of inflation management. Inflation is doing 28.9 today. The central bank governor committed to driving down, but it's not only a federal government, central bank issue. Inflation management is for everybody. There are new phenomenon in inflation which our government is going to be also driving down to everybody to understand. Shrinkflation. When you see boys removing 1 mudu of rice from a 50 kg, that is inflation. They do that, they create another bag of rice. That is inflation. So everybody must be vigilant, and the states also have a big role to play in intervening at the farm sector, the farm gate, to ensure that those farmers are not being cheated by middlemen and all sorts of people, including foreigners, it must be said, who are taking advantage of them. So I just wanted to say that, there's a lot more to say. There's a lot more that we can discuss here, in terms of everything. But I'm a student of public policy. Public policy is an ongoing phenomenon. It's not a destination, but a journey. The input of the public is also important to continue to guide the government. But I must tell you, this government is all about the people, and by God's grace, inshallah, this country will begin to move forward in just a matter of time under this administration. Thank you very much.
Thank you. No, that's fine. Thank you very much once again, Dr. Afashua, who is more well known as a friend of the House, but who is now Senior Special Assistant to the President on Economic Matters in the Office of the Vice President. More hands. Let me call on the spokesperson for, the spokesperson for the former presidential spokesperson, Mailen Garba Shehu. But just before you come, let me introduce a few guests who are with us here. The Director General, Federal Radio Corporation of Nigeria, in the person of Dr. Muhammad Bulama. You're much welcome, sir. Also with us is Alhaji Muhammad Dammaka Abubakar, who is President Commercial Dairy Ranchers. You're much welcome also. Thank you. And also here with us is Malam Umar Ibrahim, former MD, Nigeria Deposit Insurance Corporation, NDIC. You're much welcome. Thank you. Yes. I know.
I stand on the protocol as established, and to say that many people in this hall possibly don't know that when the Triumph newspapers invited Malam Kabiru Yusuf from the university to edit the first, I'll go there. I see. So Triumph invited the Kabiru Yusuf, lecturer in the university, to come and start daily newspaper. I was the second person he hired to come and help him to do the paper. When they called him to Kaduna to take over Today newspaper, he said to me, "Come, let's go." I didn't go with him. When he started the Daily Trust, he said, "Bring your money." I didn't have money, so I didn't come with him. That is not to say I will not disagree with him. He's a total write-off of the Buhari era. I cannot sit down and just allow that to go. That's why I'm standing here. Muhammadu Buhari has done his part. He has gone away. He was president of Nigeria at the time of so many global crises. I don't have to mention them. Whether it's the COVID, the war in Ukraine, all of these things. And in a nutshell, to say that he was a victim of the crisis of expectation. And I think that the lesson for Nigerians from what I've seen of the Buhari period, and this should be applied to Tinubu and to whoever president will come thereafter, is that Nigerians should begin to lower their expectations, especially where those expectations are simply inhuman. Leaders can do a lot of things, but no one leader can do everything for one given nation. Before Buhari, it used to take Christians in the east, in the southwest, 2-3 days to go home for Christmas, because the traffic clogged on the Niger Bridge. That journey is possible in 5-6 hours today. The massive infrastructure deficit in the country, he tackled it. It's unbelievable. It happened that this government, his government, banned the importation of rice because we're growing as much as we needed for the country. In fact, Nigeria fed West Africa. You need to be in any of the border states, whether Kano or Katsina, Jigawa, to see how food, even as of today, is being moved massively out of the country. We are feeding West Africa. Fela, in one of his songs, said this: if you don't know where you're coming from, you won't know where you're going. Without meaning to embarrass Daily Trust, I imagine that all of the roadblocks leading to their premises in 2015 to keep Boko Haram away from them, they have been removed. They don't need police guards as they operate today. Thank you very much.
I can see many hands in the air, but I also have list of people who had indicated interest to speak earlier. We have Professor Muttaka Usman, who is an economist with the Department of Economics, Ahmadu Bello University, Zaria. Please give him the mic, please. The mic to Prof. Thank you.
Thank you. How many minutes do I have?
Thank you. Thank you. I was going to lay the ground rules. At this point, each speaker has 1 minute.
Oh my God.
Highest 1 minute. And you can ask, if you are asking a question, 1 question. If you are making a comment, 1 minute. If you have 3 questions, reduce it to 1, or you just choose the most important one. Thank you very much.
So I think the letter I was sent by Daily Trust that I will be given 10 minutes to speak on the topic. And the way things are going, as if we are drilling from...
Prof, we give you 2 minutes.
No, I'm saying this, I want to put it on record, please. We are talking about Tinubu economic reforms. Whatever happened before Tinubu or after Tinubu is another ball game. We can discuss it in different fora. But this one, I have to speak on 2 grounds. One, even the previous government and the present government, the issue is economics is just like getting the indices right. Numbers are good. But in economics, when numbers don't speak to the reality, they are nonsense. Therefore, for any economy to develop, is not being developed by people outside the economy. It is the countries that will sit down and chart a way at which that economy will develop. And economics everywhere in the world develop by production. And production is a function of capital. You have to invest. And the policies you are putting up is shrinking those capital. You are increasing tax. How capital can be developed and invest for production. That's the fundamental thing we are talking about. And the issue of where our creditors will come every morning. In fact, this is the first time in this country where our creditor will go to Federal Executive Council and sit and listen to our discussions. And you call for retreat for governors and ministers, and the creditors will come and tell us what to do. And the worst of it all, even the wife of governors are called for retrieve. The World Bank representative have to go and tell them how to deal with your husband. What is this? Please, let's talk about the economy. There is nothing like development partners. You have to develop your economy by yourself. And Lee Kuan Yew said it. If you allow leadership to the challenger, the result of it is better imagined. So it is not yet Uhuru, whatever you are courageous to take any position. But let's see it in the ground. And when you talk about agri productions, we are now just off the season. The prices are higher than where it was. In the next 5 months, I tell you, people cannot even buy the maize you are talking about. At present, it's 50,000. By the time it's close to raising season, it will be 100,000. How many Nigerians can afford? So please, let's face the things and let's say that this policy are right, put it in proper context. But once you index your economic output on indices, like what Dr. Kai said, this is good, these are good. These are not good at all. Because Nigeria had a situation whereby it's being guided by saying that they have 7% economic growth annually. But the growth is not inclusive. People are dying of hunger, people are dying of unemployment, and you are saying the indices are good. So please, my own submissions is good for these conversations, and Daily Trust has put the platform for the continuations of the discussions. But it cannot be just done today, but the conversations must continue in such a way that the people that are really saying that they are representing the people will be here and tell us what are they really.
Thank you very much, Prof.
It's very embarrassing to say, to invite a minister to come and showcase, no even apology that I'm not coming. We are Nigerians. He has to respond to our need. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Prof. Also, as a person, as an individual, I agree with your last point. Nigerian government officials have to learn to respect Nigerian citizens. If you are invited to an event and you cannot come, you have to send a message to that people. We're not here, anyway. Let me invite the Ambassador Dahiru Suleiman, just close to Professor Mutaka also. Yeah.
Thank you for giving me the opportunity. I'm not going to speak on the lectures given. I'm going to speak on 2 issues briefly. Number 1, many years ago, the Economist Intelligence wrote something about Nigeria. He said, the best is impossible, and the worst never happens. Are we going to remain like this? My answer is no. The only way we can move forward, and I believe that is why we are here, is for the government to learn to give the job to the right people to do. If you keep on bringing wrong people, then there will be no progress. Why I said the economists, I didn't agree with it. We had examples that I'm going to give. We had INEC that had no reputation. But when Professor Jega came, he changed everything about INEC. It became a recognized and responsible organization. This is what can happen when you give the right people the job to do. The same thing with Central Bank of Nigeria. We had Sanusi Lamido Sanusi, who later became Muhammadu Sanusi II. His father was my permanent secretary, and he was an effective permanent secretary, just like his son was an effective governor of the central bank. So please, we should learn to give the job to the right people. The second one, when I served in Poland between 1988 and 1990, I observed a curious thing. Each time Polish people, both young and old, see a black man, they will ask him, what is the time? So one day I had to ask my Polish secretary, why is it that you people keep on asking black people, what is the time? She laughed and then said, it is because the Polish people have been made to believe that when you ask an African what is the time, instead of looking at his watch, he will be looking at the sun. So what I'm saying, the wristwatch is not for decoration. This meeting, this dialogue, we knew the times slated for it to start. It didn't start. So please, for God's sake, maybe the National Orientation Agency will have to come in. We should have respect for time.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Ambassador Dairus Suleiman. We also have a commentator there. Can we have the mic for him? The gentleman in glasses at the other end, yes. Okay, thank you. Tell us your name and introduce yourself.
Thank you very much, Dr. Suleiman. My name is Ahmad Sajo, and I am here representing the president of the Nigeria Institute of Public Relations. I think we're here discussing economic reforms, gainers and losers. Somebody said we are all gainers, and I'm saying there's an area where we are all losers, and that is in the management of the reputation of our country. There can be no progress unless we are able to manage our reputation properly. And manage our reputation depends on the clarity of government policies and our desire to achieve shared prosperity. But how do you achieve shared prosperity without a preceding shared hardships? Today, what we're facing in this country is that some people are suffering extreme hardships, but some people are displaying very, very criminal opulence that tells you that nothing is really wrong with the economy of this country. Unless we are able to begin to control our own display of obscene opulence, our own display of lack of concern for the suffering that the country goes through, we will not have a shared prosperity because we have not shared our hardships. I know that Comrade Ajero said a bag of rice is 50. I went to a supermarket and I saw a bag of maize is 50,000. I saw a bag of rice at 105. And I began to imagine whether that bag of rice is fit to go into the boot of the car or will sit in the front of the car with the seat belt on it. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you. So I think this side, okay, the former Accountant General, Mr. James Naeju, please. It is there with you.
Let me commend the media trust. Unfortunately, the people I want to let to hear what I want to see, they are already gone. I went to the toilet when one left. That's Dr. Fashua. You are back. Sit down there, my brother. You are very good. And when I saw the former minister, Dr. Samsudin, I cornered him. Certain things I want to draw the attention of the nation and policymakers. You know, we are senior citizens, but we have to tell where things should be done. I endorse the suggestion that we should stop aiming at privatization in some key area like electricity, like railway line. It cannot work. What they do in Arab world today is that they will build and they can transfer to the management to some honest and senior citizens, honest and reasonable citizens. But where are they going to get the money?
The individual who they privatize those things, that's why it failed. But the area that concerns me, which I want to lay emphasis is that there is correlation between, very strong correlation between banditry that is going on and mining in Nigeria. And this mining is dominated, or yes, is dominated by the Chinese. The worrisome aspect of it is that the revenue and the money coming out of it is not going to national accounting. Dr. Ofashua, you help us go and look into that. It's not going to our national accounting. You know, they have evaded the plank industry, our plank in the reserve forest. And they've gone into the soil and all the precious minerals we have. We don't have any business with poverty. If we are able to go to Nasarawa here, go to Zamfara, go to Casino, they are talking. Deputy Governor Casino, God bless you. Please sell your idea to all the other states, but with modification to what Professor Jega said yesterday. Let them institutionalize it. It's high time we have a state police, or call it any organization, but arm it like the one they have getting there. Because if there's no production, nobody can stop inflation. If there's no production, nobody can stop the devaluation of the naira. Production and industrialization is the bone whereby we can get abundance. And
thank you very
this
much.
banditry is too much. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you very much for your kind comments. Thank you. Yes, more questions. Also, the man at the end, the man in black at the other end, I will come round. Okay. Yes, please.
Thank you very much. My comment and appeal or suggestion is based on the overview that Dr. Samsudeen gave, and he mentioned KPIs. And on that note, I believe he also meant to draw government's attention to not make selective KPIs. I would like to, since Dr. Fasua is here, I would like to suggest that he takes this message to his economic team. It's been reported that the federal government under President Tinubu want to boost the mortgage sector, the housing sector, as part of the strategy for growing the economy exponentially. Just to take this idea to the economic team that in every country that has used that strategy, they have focused on what is called securitization. We are not hearing much about the strategy for securitization of the housing sector. It's not enough to just count the number of houses under construction.
Thank you very much.
And then you say Uyo or Abuja are the growing states or growing cities. That's not how we go about it. You do securitization so that there is a secondary market.
Thank you.
Otherwise, the housing is
thank you very much.
It's not a
Thank
liquid.
you.
It's not a liquid sector.
I'm afraid
so
I have to stop you there so that
liquefy
other
it.
people can have opportunity to speak.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. All right. Please let me call on Professor Hafiz Abubakar, former Deputy Governor of Kano State, to speak. He's indicated interest to speak. Shehu is here. And after him, I have Alhaji Muhammad Dammaka Abubakar, who also wants to speak.
Thank you very much, our moderator, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. My own is a question. Honestly, I want to be educated. First, I'm very far away from economics. I'm a food scientist by profession. So please forgive my ignorance. It's to do with the issue of our foreign exchange. Since the 1980s as a student in the United Kingdom, I'm fully aware that there is a cap of the cash transactions you can hold with the bureau de change. Regrettably, in our country, it is open. I can say boldly that the Central Bank of Nigeria has no figures of what is going on in our BDCs when you take the process. And I'm sure they are fully aware of the very great risk. In civilized societies, there is a cap of cash transaction you can undertake in any bureau de change. But in our country, it is limitless. And there is no system that keeps record of their transactions for our central bank to know what is happening there. They have no information of what is happening in our BDCs. To me, that is a very big risk, and is part of what is actually fueling corruption in our country, which we are fully aware, because we see government vans in Wusefo coming with the Naira. Some of our government houses, bully vans come and take Naira to BDCs in the daylight. So I keep on wondering, why is it that we don't have a cap and a system that records what is happening? Because every legitimate transaction can be done through the banks. Legitimate. If we say like the maximum you can obtain of cash is $10,000, $10,000 will satisfy every emergency demand of anybody. But all other transactions should be through the bank. That gives the central bank the record. And I'm sure it will curtail corruption. Most of these excess or increased allocations to the state, I'm sorry.
Thank you, Excellency.
It's putting pressure on the foreign exchange.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency.
It's putting pressure on the foreign exchange of the country. So please, those involved, maybe you should tell me, because I'm a layman there, I just keep on wondering, why is it that all this time we have not taken this position?
Thank you. The panelists will address your question, Your Excellency, former Deputy Governor of Kano State. Let me say, after him we have Alhaji Muhammad Dammaka Abubakar, who will speak following this. And then maybe we can agree how the process goes. I will take 2 commenters from here, 2 more from here, and 2 more from this side. And I think that will be time for us to give opportunity to the panelists to then give their final word, and then we close the event for today. Thank you once again. So, Alhaji Dammaka Abubakar, please.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. I don't know where I belong. Is it the gainers or the slow gainers, as being redefined by Dr. Fashua? But I think I will just want to look at the reform that concerns us in the agri-sector. I'm talking on behalf of the agri-producers and the processors and the marketers as well. And I think if this sector is fixed, most of the problems that are bedeviling the country economic-wise will be solved to an extent. So there are some reforms that were introduced by the Central Bank of Nigeria, though monetary reforms, which was not supposed to control the fiscal policy of the country. But it worked by default. And then with the coming of this government, I understand all these policies were reversed. For instance, milk, powdered milk, was banned by not allowing banks to establish from M for every importer. Some companies were selected based on certain criteria and were asked to get import license in court from the CBN. And this had reduced the bill, foreign exchange bill, from $1.3 billion to $840 million, almost half in just a year. You can't throw away such a policy. Though a monetary policy, it could be transformed into a fiscal policy, which is more of the tool that's supposed to be used in such controls. So I would like the government to look at these policies critically. It's the same policy that worked on rice. We're all aware that during the COVID problems in Nigeria, if we were dependent on importation of rice, it would have been a different story. And those of you that are buying rice at 105,000 naira and complaining, only God knows how much rice will have cost if we are dependent on its import, given the hike in foreign exchange rate. So the foreign exchange rate, I don't know if it favors us or it favors the losers or the winners. Whichever way we look at it, we need to fix that. And I will ask that the fiscal policy should be used as a tool to control dumping of foods on us. When this policy was not in place, a liter of milk, when imported, reconstituted in Kano market, was costing 120 naira. The cost of producing such milk in my farm was 320 naira. Due to the mixing of these policies, as at today, the cost of producing the milk on the farm remains at just about 400 naira. The cost of such milk dumped at Kano market is about 800 naira. So it makes it more profitable now to go into milk production. So also other agricultural products as against what it used to be. So I think this is the point I would like to make.
Thank you very much for that excellent comment that gives a practical enunciation to the discussions here. So I will take from my right, start and then move towards my left. Two persons from here, two from here, two from here, and then we leave. Yes, please.
Thank you very much. I'm standing on the existing protocol. I'm Dr. Odatse Peters. I'm an economist and also an energy expert. So, I think there's a paradox of statements between growth and development. And this is really, really worrisome if we cannot differentiate what growth is and what development is. Statistics, as was read out by Dr. Okai, seems to speak against the reality of what we experience currently in the economy. How can there be growth when our multinationals are living, reducing our capital stock of oil that is supposed to be an attendant revenue that can create development? How can there be growth when technology advancement has continued to remain comatose in the economy? How can there be growth when every day, instead of employment rate to increase, employment rate is decreasing? I believe that one of the fundamental reset the economy is number one. proper diversification.
Thank you, Dr.
and
Saze. We have to stop you
redistribution
there.
of income.
We have to stop you, please, so that other people can get an opportunity to talk. Thank you very much.
Some people are getting fatter, while some of us are getting slimmer. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you for respecting time. The lady in red, please. Yes. Oh, thank you, Rash.
Good afternoon, all.
Good afternoon. Yes.
I stand on the existing protocol. The issue I want to bring in here is transportation costs. If the palliative that is given to some people, which is unseen, can be diverted to road maintenance and construction, I believe Nigeria will be okay, because transportation is one of the things that cost Nigeria high. When you go to market, you buy things you buy, to take it to where you want to go is very expensive because of the bad roads. Majority of people did not travel because of bad roads. So if they can put more effort in that bad road, I believe Nigeria will be okay. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you for your nice comments. Thank you. Yes. Okay.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
I also want to stand on the already established protocols. My name is Hassan Ibrahim. I want to start my intervention by commending Daily Trust sincerely for yet again coming with an innovation of a kind that will lead to, good governance. Because the essence of this dialogue is to make provisions that governors can tap from and ensure that we have good governance in Nigeria. I also want to use this opportunity to say thank you to Professor Atairu Jega. I was an undergraduate student of Bayero University when Professor Jega was also the Vice Chancellor. And the first day of my registration at BUK, I boggled into a program organized by the then Political Science Department for the incoming student. It was like an orientation program, and Prof was there to make some comments. What I took away that day was this primary reason I'm here in this hall today. That day, Professor Jega advised, as you people are transiting and moving out of the four walls of the university, make sure you engage actively with politics. Active engagement with politics was his advice, because he gave us a reason for that. He said at that time, if you have the experience of the university and you disengage from politics, the people that don't have this experience will be the one that will engage with politics. And I make that analogy of Niger State at that time. At that time, Governor Kure Late was the governor, and I want to say here that the most powerful decision maker in Niger State that time has only a secondary school start. And after Kure, he was the person that Kure must talk to before making important decisions. And since that day, I come to conclude that engaging in politics is something that we must all, hold on to. And before I conclude,
thank you.
The moderator I must talk about.
I think you have to conclude here. Thank you very
Please,
much. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. All the very best.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator.
I have to stop you there. Thank you. Yes, the man in green. Thank you.
Thank you very much for this opportunity given to me. I am Musa Sule, the Honorable Commissioner, Ministry of Commerce and Industry, Plateau State, representing the Executive Governor of Plateau State. First and foremost, I think I would like to make my own contribution on the area of security. You can't discuss economic policies in an unsecured country. As we all know, security is the primary responsibility of government. Let me cite Plateau as an example. Since Christmas Eve to yesterday, I think we have lost over 300 people, apart from other valuables. The government needs to invest in the area of security, especially in surveillance and intelligence gathering. I think we can only, implement these policies if the country is secured. And another key area is it is very imperative that the implementation of these economic policies be prioritized, be fair and inclusive, so that the people that are supposed to benefit from these economic policies get them at their doorstep. And attention be given to low-income earners to ensure that they benefit from the government policies. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Malam Musa Sule, the Honorable Commissioner for Industry and Planning for Commerce and Industry in Plateau State, who is sitting in on behalf of His Excellency Governor Muftwang. Thank you very much. I think after you, we have just one more person to. However interesting an event is, however important it is, it has to end at some point. So we are not able to give everyone the opportunity to speak. So we have two hands in the air now. I also have Senator Shehu Sani that he wants to speak. So I think here, Shehu, after him, then the young lady there, and after that, Shehu Sani, and then we go. Thank you.
Hello. Can I speak? Yes. Yeah, I'm Mr. Jafari Yusufu, a retired Deputy Director, Procurement, Office of the Secretary to the Federal Government. We are really talking wisely and intelligently. All protocol observe. We are talking wisely and intelligently in the benefit of the whole country. And that is the realization. What I'm saying in the final analysis is that there are a lot of issues putting this country into a mess. One is corruption. Sorry to mention, in the Buhari regime, what I'm categorically saying is that he is pursuing corruption, but all the people around him are corrupt. No. The secretary is corrupt. He's also corrupt. And he said he's corrupt. How can the country be defined? That's number one. Two, we should not believe and single our mind on mono-economy, which is petroleum. In case the petroleum finish tomorrow, where are we going? We come back and we start experiencing economic recession. Is that going to pay us? So why don't we think wise now when the petroleum is good and reinvest the investment?
Thank you, Mr. Jafaru. Thank you very much.
So I say we should think about tomorrow. That is it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Yeah, thank you. So there is a lady at the other in red scarf, also at the end. And then Comrade Senator Shehu Sani will have the final word from and then our panelists will have an opportunity to reply and respond to issues, 3 minutes each. And
the High Bench, starting with my President, Joe Ajero, distinguished and eminent members present. Please, may I kindly correct our chairman of or moderator of the event. You keep referring to me as a young lady, and these guys are laughing at me. I'm a grandmother, please. Let it be on record. Thank you. My name is Mohamed Adama, and I'm a lawyer. My point, after listening to all the very critical, intelligent submission is, honestly, are we really serious? We come to talk, and talk. Do we really do? We go out without doing, and that is why corruption is endemic in our nation. Take, for instance, the issue before us, economy, and very critically what the commissioner from Plateau had said. You can't talk about economy without a safe environment. You can't talk about economy without price control. That's the germane issue. How do we control the prices of our goods? The farmer in the village, where I come from in Katsina, will tell you that dollar, he has never ever seen the dollar. Why is the psychology of dollar affecting our commerce? Why is it affecting our commerce? Can't we do something about it? Because if we don't, honestly, it's affecting equally our mental health. Do we think about that? We're not talking about our workers right now. We're talking about the layman on the roadside. He just hears this thing via the air, and he takes it up, and everybody's jittering. Everybody's panicking. Dollar is this and dollar is that. Before you say one true, just like we've all observed, you go to the anywhere to buy anything now, what we're saying now here affects the seller. The price is 1 naira. Before you get to that place, it's become 5 naira. In the night, it becomes 15 naira. Why are we not talking about price control? Why are we not having that board on the ground anymore? Why are we not monitoring? Why are we not doing the talk, walking the talk? Because until we walk our talk, we can't have our problems solved. Thank you so very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much for your kind comments. I think those are comments of a grandmother. Well said. Senator Shehu, please.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Well, each time politicians are struggling for power, they present themselves as magicians. Magicians that have solutions to all the problems of the country. 1 naira will be $1. They will remove subsidy. And they have a template of addressing all our socio-economic and political problems. But some months into power, you find them telling Nigerians that they should lower their expectations, and they are not having a magic wand to address all the problems of the country. Mr. Moderator, it's 24 years since the restoration of democracy, and this dialogue is 21 years old. Under President Obasanjo, we had the NEETS, National Economic Empowerment and Development Strategy. It came and went. Under Eradua, we have the 7-point agenda. Jonathan came with his transformation agenda. After Jonathan, I don't know what program Buhari had, or they call it Economic Recovery and Growth Plan, or whatever. We seem to have become perpetually guinea pigs of economic experiments of all kinds. Mr. Moderator, please, for those of us who are here, who have gone through the history of other nations like Indonesia, under Suharto, Malaysia, under Mahathir Mohamad, Thailand, South Korea, and Japan.
Thank you.
For those of us who are well ready to go through the history of those nations that have passed through this kind of process, will you sincerely, deep into your conscience and your heart, tell yourself that this is the path, this is the form they have taken to become what they are today? Governments after governments, we are all starting from afresh. Every government is laying a foundation. When are we going to reach the lintel? The last thing I have to say is this. The last government was here in power with all sorts of promises. They left after piling over 77 trillion naira debt, 133 million people below poverty line, 100,000 people killed by terrorists and bandits, almost half of that number kidnapped. We are here again. Magic was also promised. And we are now told that we shouldn't expect things to happen in one day.
I think it's important that we tell ourselves the home truth. If we are interested and really committed.
Thank you. I think Providence wants you to end the speech earlier than you.
Thank you very much. It's all right.
Than you planned. Thank you very much. This is where we come to the end of the Q&A, or at least the question session. We will give opportunity to the panelists, Dr. Victoria Akai and Comrade Joseph Azero, to respond to some of the issues that have been thrown at their presentations. So this time around, I start with, again, from my left hand with the lady, Dr. Victoria.
Okay, thank you so very much. I must commend Media Trust. This is honestly the most interactive forum that I've attended. And coming from me, who has managed an advocacy association, trust me, this is very good. We have current government officials, we have labor, we have our students, our dear children, and we have the general public. I think forums like this should be organized more. Thank you very much. Now, having said that, I would also wish that next time when we're being invited, like my brother from ABU, that we should actually be told exactly how much time we have. Because I think my presentation was also misconstrued because I did not have enough time to deliver the lecture properly. So it would have been a very balanced lecture. But anyway, thank you for your feedbacks. That was perfect, and I really do hope the government officials have taken the information, the feedbacks that they got here. Now, my presentation is based on projections. And projections are made from information that is collected from countries. So they are country-specific information. International agencies like World Bank, like WTO, maybe like even the Harvard Business Association, they get their data from NBS, the Nigerian Bureau for Statistics. They do not manufacture data as such by themselves. It's what is available that they will use. Having said that, one of the biggest problems we have in Nigeria is data. No matter how much we try to refuse the data from international organizations, but we do not have enough data here to work with. So sometimes you just have to rely on that. When you're researching, you will pick the same information that MBS is giving, and you can actually compare it with the international agencies, and you will see that they agree. So we must improve on data collection. I don't understand how we can even have a budget without data, but anyway, there is a genius in Nigeria, and so we're able to do that. Now, the other thing is Nigeria must industrialize. I agree that we must produce what we eat and what we use, and we must also produce for export. Everything we're discussing about FX, inflation, we're not producing anything. We're not selling. We're producing something, but we are not selling enough. We're not exporting enough. Where is the FX going to come from? So I agree with the agriculturist who says we just need to go back and develop that sector and find a way of increasing our exports and feeding ourselves. Then rice will not be 105,000. I've not seen it, but it's very possible. There must be institutional reforms. So we cannot keep running the country from one election cycle to the other. Our institutions are weak. And if they are weak, we are not able to carry through the gains of one dispensation into another. It is not possible for a president to come and restart from the beginning and think we're going to make enough progress. It's just absolutely impossible. Countries that have developed have strong institutions. There must be a reorientation about productivity as well, about work. If the attitude has trickled down to even the cleaners in the office, nobody takes institutions seriously. This country must be run as a business for us to succeed. Everybody must be hands on deck to make sure that the country succeeds, from the president to the judiciary to the National Assembly, everyone, to the citizenry. So the responsibility for Nigeria's economy to improve is not only the primary responsibility of the president, but of every Nigerian. I'm not an advocate for government running a business. I'm not. And you understand, I'm coming from the organized private sector. I am not. Government should provide the enabling environment. In fact, when government is planning, government must include industry, and not just the obvious, even the ones that are not obvious. PPP is also a good idea. I wish the former Accountant General was here. But beyond that, let me address the issue of the railway, for instance. From industry perspective, I think that the railways should have been built with business in mind. If you take the train from Abuja to Kaduna, you are going to practically be in the bush until you get to Kaduna. This doesn't make business sense. The rail lines should have been built with some certain industrial hubs or market hubs in mind. So if you move from here, maybe you get to Jere, there's a market there, there should be a stop, something like that. Intelligent planning, not just to throw people into the bush. And that maybe could have reduced the issue of insecurity in terms of the railway. So that is just one. Whether we're planning in line with international treaties, and after it's coming, we need to really look at this and involve industry. If you go to the border, for instance, the Seme border, to me, as far as I'm concerned, honestly, I don't know as at today, but the last time I went there, it's a toilet. You can't even find public toilets to use there. There are no hotels. The hospitality industry looks as if it was not involved. But take, for instance, and I know it's not a comparable example, but if you go to King Cross St. Pancras, it's like a border train station. You can actually stay in King Cross St. Pancras, carry out your business in the UK, go back to St. Pancras, and then back to Paris, because it's well developed. That place is a market. In fact, we should have looked at having maybe like some special economic zones around our borders as well. So this discourse is not something that we can end today. It is deep, it's deeper than this. It's like what we're doing here is like taking Panadol for malaria. It is something that the private sector, the media, thank you very much, past government officials, please, I think government is a continuum. We shouldn't end government and start fighting with each other. This doesn't work. We should be able to say, the Minister of Communication should be able to call the last one and say, on this, what happened and why was the response like this, so that we can have a continuum. Nigeria is one country. We're brothers and sisters. We must not allow anyone divide us. We must be able to move forward with development initiatives. Thank you very much. Sorry, I took so much time.
Yes, thank you very much, Dr. Victoria Akai, for that response. I think even the audience will agree that your point about planning a railway was particularly poignant. It didn't occur to most of us who ply that route, but it's clear now that you're planning something like a railway. You bring an idea of business into it, rather than, as you said, dumping people into the bush. That's a welcome point. So I think I hand over the mic to Comrade once again, Joe Azero, to address some of the issues that were read to his presentation. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I will not say much because all the contributors, they made vital points, one after the other. If we can summarize all of them, that will enable us to have a leeway. However, if I'm starting from my sister on the railway in hubs, the summary of what I want us to capture here is Nigeria is an underdeveloping economy. This is a stark reality we don't want to believe. Nigeria is not a developing economy, it's underdeveloping. And I'm not ashamed to say this. In the 60s and 50s that she made reference to, if you check the red points, you get to Mwahia or Turubo, all those areas, those are hubs. But today, it's in the bush. And I want us to analyze it. You know, that where we were in the 60s, we have degenerated. In terms of infrastructure, some of us that went to school in those days ate chicken, ate egg, enjoy scholarship, enjoy bursary. That is not the situation today. You know, on and on, check any other area, you know, students were given bursary, they were given scholarship to study abroad. You know, as we talk today, that is not where we are. Even the little that were connected to electricity, the main power stations working in Nigeria today were built then. Even to maintain them today, we are not doing it. So if we are talking of Nigeria as a developing nation, and people are giving us figures, what are the indices? You know, after independence, where are we today? So I don't believe I needed to mention this, you know, before I start looking at all the people that were mentioned. People were, the government officials have left here, and it's unfortunate. The few that came on their own, because they made points, they mounted the rostrum and said one or two things, and they should have taken a response from them. You know, you can see that they didn't want to wait. The economic advisor in the office of the vice president was talking of they are going to take from capitalism, take from socialism. So what is the name of that economic model? Is it confusion? He said it here, because that's what they are doing. You know, each time they say these things, okay, I'm now saying, put it together. Let us know that this is your policy. There's nothing else, you know, we requested for. That yours is capitalism plus socialism. You put it together, we take it up. You know, and the Minister of Information did not deny that they have not implemented any of the agreements. And he was talking of immediate shock. And you deliberately decided to introduce shock without making provision for it. You remove subsidy today. And then 7 months after, you have not done anything to ameliorate the shock. Is that how to plan? Are we not supposed to think of what we are going to use to mitigate the effect of the shock before inflicting the shock on the people? As of today, that's not what we're having. But he felt that it's okay, since he's here, he has to respond to what one of the troublemakers has said. And they're saying the governors, your progressive governors chairman, after negotiation, refused to pay. And I was in a worry. They said, kill him. What have you done as a government? No, I'm not taking this too lightly. And then there's minimum wage that is not being paid. The federal government is a regulator. Apart from being employer of labor, you're a regulator. There's a law criminalizing non-implementation of the minimum wage. Nothing has happened in this country. And you're giving them license. And you're saying the governors are not paying. Is it the duty of the workers to go and sentence them? Whose duty is that? On and on and on. You know, they keep on, okay, yes, agric and purchasing power. If you watch most of the products we are producing now, countries from neighboring countries, people from there are now buying it because they have more purchasing power. I was shocked that people from Benin, the Cephas and all those ones are getting stronger than Naira. And they come to Lagos, they buy, they go back. Because we don't have strong purchasing power. Even when we develop those agricultural products, and you can't have an economy without strong purchasing power. And if the wage is not strong of the worker, in fact, the workers are the people that buy. If you watch at the end of the month, go to the market. Those selling Maggi, those selling crayfish, all those ones, you see the economy will be revolving. They will buy those, but the companies are folding up. And things are happening on a daily basis. And we have asked a question, what economic policy do you have for us to follow you? The same advisor mentioned something that the informal sector, that he's not even sure that that area, the NLC is unionizing them. I think he just decided to fire that bullet. You know, on our own, even in this minimum wage, we have insisted that the wage income bracket should be opened up. All countries of the world, even domestic servants, are captured by the minimum wage. And that has been a battle. The last minimum wage, it was a battle. This one now is going to be a battle. And beyond polemics, you know, he just said it here. Now, since you have made that presentation, are they going to adopt it? You can't have, it's like the informal sector is the people holding us now. And you don't have any protection for them. If you go to Ministry of Labor, they tell you they can't unionize them. They are the people. You know, I have over 10 letters there from the informal sector on unionization, and the government is telling them not to unionize them. And they are patronizing casual labor. They are patronizing, you know, outsourcing. That's what the Ministry of Labor is encouraging. So if you have that, why will you come down here and now say the informal sector are not being captured? I think we should sit down beyond, you know, exchange of we are right, we are wrong. I think we should sit down. What they did was to defend the government, and I didn't expect less from them. But beyond that, now the person from Katsina that spoke here, yes, it's difficult for you to have a good economy when you don't have security. Extremely difficult. And everybody in this country knows the number of people that are dying, you know, when they go to their farm. It becomes difficult for you to go to the farm. So what's the solution to it? A lot of things have been said here, but are they going to listen? And when you want to, in fact, even this issue of listening, even the one you are organizing, they will not take it. And that has been the nature and character of government in this country. Babangida tried it. He tried for a political option. Nigerians voted for socialism. And he jettisoned it. And when he brought SAP, and we had an alternative measure and document on alternative, there's alternative to SAP. When he said there's no alternative to SAP, and he gave him an alternative document. He jettisoned it. So I pray that this, your consultation will be taken at the end of the day. Let all of us that participated today make sure that it is adopted, because it is becoming difficult for the Nigerian government to even call for debate. The minister was talking of independence of the media. You know, they allow free. The Nigerian media is a combative one. I think he shares the same background with me. I'm a journalist, and a journalist that has been detained severally. This one that he's talking is a combative media. You know, we gained it from our struggle. So if they have their way, they will cage us. But let them not do those things that will attract negative publicity. That's the only thing I said here. We are all patriotic. The Nigerian media happened to be one of the most patriotic institutions that fought along some nationalists and labor, you know, for political independence. And after political independence, things are going the other way. They cannot gag us. If you arrest us, you attract more negative publicity. God bless you.
Those are the words of a comrade. Well said. Thank you very much for your final comments. I think this is where we all give ourselves a round of applause, especially those of us who have stayed to this point, to the end. Ladies and gentlemen, we have come to the final lap of this today's 21st Annual Daily Trust Dialogue on Tinubu's economic reforms, gainers and losers. At this point, let me call on an executive director of the Media Trust Group, Alhaji Aminu Dangana, to give us a vote of thanks and closing remarks. Thank you.
Good afternoon, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. I'm here assigned by the board to give a vote of thanks. But before I do that, for fear of offending losers and gainers in this discussion, I would like to start on existing protocols and further to say that if I may be given the opportunity to respond to my former Deputy Governor of Kano State, Professor Hafiz Abubakar, who posed a question that he cannot really understand why the Bureau de Change are handled the way they are being handled in this country, while in other jurisdictions, Bureau de Change have a kind of cap. We know all this because it's a group of elites who have traveled widely. You don't just walk into a Bureau de Change, whether you are a Chinese, American, British citizen, just to request for any amount and then travel. But here in this country, we have the Bureau de Change having a field day, and there is no way you can control the pressure on foreign exchange. In fact, I shared my experience with other board members when I traveled to China. I bought some items, or I was negotiating to buy some items, and then the lady said, she saw me fiddling, maybe I was not comfortable with the amount. She said, look, if you don't have dollars, you can pay me in Naira. And I was shocked. Within some seconds, this lady just sent a text message showing her account number, her name, and everything. When I picked the details, I calculated, she gave me a rate. And then I transferred the money. Within seconds, she received an alert. And when I saw the name, it's a Chinese name. But the account is domiciled in Nigeria. The bank is a Nigerian bank. And then I asked her, have you ever been to Nigeria? She said, no. How did you manage to get this account opened? She said she got it opened by a Nigerian. She only forwarded some documents. In Kano alone, we have more than 600 Bureau de Change companies. When the central bank was giving dollar freely, on weekly basis or daily basis, cash in cashers were collecting more than $18 million from CBN Kano branch. Most of the in-cashers have not even gone to secondary school. So you can really see vividly, while we are having problem with foreign exchange, it will continue to rise unless CBN and the government take drastic action against these activities. So with these few remarks, I would like to express our sincere appreciation to all the distinguished guests that attended this event. And most of the people I would like to mention, their names have left, but the few that I can see, I think I will acknowledge their presence and then extend our appreciation and sincere thanks to them for finding time to be here in spite of all the challenges and commitments they have. I can see the former deputy governor of Kano State, Professor Hafiz Abubakar. I think I saw Professor Jega. He was here for some few minutes. And then other distinguished guests from various private and public organizations. We are really appreciative of the presence of students and leaders of Nile University and Bayes University. They have been regular in attending our event. And then, of course, coming to the chairman of the occasion, Dr. Shamsuddin Usman, the panelists, starting with Victoria Akai. She was one of the few speakers that came right on time, and then Comrade Joseph Ajero, who has really done a lot of justice to the topic. I'm not saying that Victoria has not done so, but he took it from the loser's point of view. I'm one of the losers, so most likely that is why I really commended what he has said. We are all losers because some of us benefited tremendously from the policies of previous governments to such an extent that the government was just like owning some of us. But now we don't have that opportunity. We are now financing our families, through our noses. So thank you very much. And then the moderator, who has done a wonderful job, Dr. Suleiman A. Suleiman, and other distinguished personalities. So thank you very much for coming, and we hope this thing will be sustained, even though it has been so, but we hope the economy will not force us to check out. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Elijah Aminu Dangan. I think after that comment, there's really nothing more to be said other than to say thank you and wishing you safe trip back to your homes and to your families. And we hope that you join us again next year when we meet here. But just before we go, we have a group photograph to take at this side of the table. Yes, sir. Okay, thank you. National anthem, I thought maybe once is enough, It's not a military parade, but we can have it. So, thank you. Yes, please.